Chapter 1044. Stinky smoke rose rapidly from the corpse, and the burning corpse produced some blood-red spiritual light that rushed towards Lin Muyu. It was the residue of the power of death. Taking a few steps back, Lin Muyu waved his left fist, and a strong wind blew away the residue in the blink of an eye. Sha sha sha. The ground trembled slightly, and in the distance, there was a continuous bulge of moving soil. More of these monsters were coming. Lin Muyu frowned and looked at the death aura gathering from all directions without batting an eyelid. The Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly, as if reflecting the murderous intent in its master's heart. Ha ha ha, interesting, interesting. A voice that seemed to come from the depths of hell came, and the soil under a dead tree in the distance suddenly turned up. A man with long hair, who was neither human nor ghost, appeared in sight, holding an ugly hammer in his hand. The hammer was swung by an iron chain, and he dragged the chain as he slowly walked over. The skin on his face was turned up, and one could faintly see streams of blood-red light flying past. This was a man who had mastered the power of death. I didn't expect that there would be a God Emperor realm expert who dared to trespass into the corpse-nurturing plane, and even had the ability to kill the corpse slaves of my corpse-nurturing plane. Interesting. He stared at Lin Muyu with his dark eyes and said, "Boy, you are Lin Muyu? You knew I would come?" Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Who are you?" The man who was neither human nor ghost couldn't help but laugh wildly. "Me? I have long forgotten my own name, but my teacher gave me a name several hundred years ago. I am called Ghost Hammer, and he ordered me to guard the edge of the corpse-nurturing plane. Since you are here today, I will play with you. Let me see how powerful you are, someone who can kill Dongfang Yan." Lin Muyu raised the Xianyuan sword and smiled. "Think about it carefully. Even Dongfang Yan is not my opponent. Who do you think you are? Soon you'll know who I am." Ghost Hammer suddenly waved the chain hammer in his hand and roared, "Corpse slaves, attack! Let this brat taste the power of our corpse-raising planes. Make him open his dog eyes wide, and not look down on Grandpa Ghost Hammer." Roar, roar, roar. Around them, clumps of dirt flew up, followed by a number of withered corpse slaves. These corpse slaves had dull eyes, but their movements were fast. Each and every one of them rushed over as if they had gone mad. There were countless of them, covering the entire mountain and wilderness. There were at least 1,000 of them. Lin Muyu couldn't help but complain. She raised her head and looked at the sky. Streams of death meteors were flying around unceasingly. Moreover, there seemed to be something hidden in the blood-colored clouds. She couldn't fly in the sky, otherwise, the trouble would be even greater. If she didn't kill these corpse slaves today, she wouldn't be able to get away with it. This Ghost Hammer was so arrogant because of the huge number of corpse slaves. Ordinary God Realm experts wouldn't be able to kill these corpse slaves. Even God Emperor Realm experts would die of exhaustion after killing all the corpse slaves. What Lin Muyu could rely on was the recovery speed of the Supreme Godhead. It wasn't impossible for her to recover her divine energy while killing the corpse slaves. Buzz! The Xianyuan sword trembled and let out a clear sword cry. The blade was wrapped in thick flames. Since the divine fire could prevent the corpse slaves from being reborn, she would use the divine fire to deal with them. Swoosh! Sticking close to the ground, Lin Muyu charged towards the dozens of corpse slaves. She swung her longsword before they even arrived. With a low grunt, the divine fire on her blade transformed into shadows of people, trees, flowers, birds, insects, and fishes. They also carried a dense life force, and she directly slashed out with the chaotic light of all life. Boom! The raging flame swept across, turning dozens of corpse slaves into flaming dumplings. They howled miserably and rolled on the ground. However, the divine fire Lin Muyu summoned was so powerful that it burned their skin and bones. In the blink of an eye, they were all vaporized into smoke. Roar, roar! Behind her it came again. Without looking back, Lin Muyu turned around and whipped her leg. Her ankle was covered with divine fire. With a bang, she seemed to have kicked something hard. It was a corpse beast covered with scales. Like a hungry wolf, it was kicked several meters away by Lin Muyu's whip kick. However, only the scales on its arm were broken. It didn't die. Roar! It opened its bloody mouth and suddenly bit off the head of a corpse slave. It chewed in big mouthfuls as if it was enjoying it very much. The wound on its arm was also healing at a visible rate. Then, it roared and rushed towards Lin Muyu again. Sure enough, it's a beast. Lin Muyu snorted coldly. Suddenly her figure burst out. With the mysterious falling star steps, she flashed past the corpse beast. Before the corpse beast could react, the Xian Yuan sword struck in the air and instantly split the corpse beast's body into two. The raging divine fire burst out from the corpse beast's body. With a hum sound, the fire erupted into a shock wave and even swept away more than a dozen corpse slaves around. Although the corpse beast was powerful, its speed was far less than Lin Muyu's. This was its fatal flaw. Otherwise, the corpse beast and corpse slaves would probably be able to dominate the 64 domains. The Xian Yuan sword in Lin Muyu's hand was extremely domineering. It killed the corpse slaves and corpse beasts one by one like cutting melons and vegetables. However, he didn't move too far. He just waited for the corpse slaves and corpse beasts to pounce on him before killing them. This was also Lin Muyu's plan. This way, he could prolong the battle and quickly recover the divine power he consumed. Above the bier, there was a faint glimmer of the Supreme Godhead. The power of law in the corpse breeding plane was not very strong, but it was mostly the power of death. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was proficient in the 12 laws. The power of death originated from the chaotic laws. Therefore, the Supreme Godhead quickly absorbed the power of death and transformed it into the divine power of wind, thunder, fire, light, and other elements on Lin Muyu's blade. Go. Kill him. Ghost Hammer, who was not far away, roared angrily, urging the corpse slaves and corpse beasts to fight. At the same time, his voice trembled slightly. He could feel that Lin Muyu's power was so strong that these corpse slaves and corpse beasts could not do anything to him. However, he still roared ferociously. I don't believe that this brat is invincible. Kill him. Tear his flesh and drink his divine blood. Now is the time. Roar, roar, roar. The corpse slaves rushed towards Lin Muyu as if they had gone crazy. They came from all directions and were extremely fast. Too many, far too many. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth and suddenly jumped up. He was about 10 meters above the ground. As he avoided the flowing fire of death in the air, a ray of light bloomed in his palm. It was the power of the purple sun. In the next moment, Lin Muyu and the purple sun blasted into the ground. Suddenly, layers of the ground several meters deep evaporated. The purple flame spread in all directions. Hundreds of corpse slaves and corpse beasts were almost instantly destroyed. Ga. An extremely unpleasant sound came from the side. It was a corpse beast that had half of its head blown off. It was struggling and pouncing towards Lin Muyu. Die. The Xianyuan sword quickly slashed over. However, at this moment, Lin Muyu's heart suddenly trembled. Her ability to predict seemed to have seen something. The Xianyuan sword in her hand seemed to have hit something hard with a dang sound. At the same time, a cold wind came from behind. It was very sharp. Lin Muyu jumped up in the air without thinking. With a schwa sound, a sharp blade flashing with cold light slashed under her. If she had not dodged quickly, she would have been seriously injured. However, the Xianyuan sword was still clamped by something. Lin Muyu looked up and saw that it was a giant corpse beast that was at least 10 meters tall that had grabbed the Xianyuan sword with its sharp claws that were like iron pincers. So ugly. Lin Muyu could not help but be secretly shocked. This giant corpse beast had 3 hands on its upper body. One was the iron pincer that was holding the Xianyuan sword, and the other 2 were the arms with iron blades. Its head was extremely ugly. It only had eyes but no mouth. That's right, where was its mouth? When he looked down, he realized that the mouth was on its feet. As the giant corpse beast moved, blood-colored tentacles grew out of its toes and swept the corpse slaves and corpse beasts that had just died into its mouth. It did not waste any time at all. It fought and cleaned up the battlefield at the same time. It seemed that eating the corpse slaves could also restore and strengthen its battle strength. Roar! The giant corpse beast roared loudly. There seemed to be a bit of pride in its eyes, as if it was already determined to get Lin Muyu. The sword pattern on the Xianyuan sword was clamped and could not be pulled out for the time being. Lin Muyu simply smiled. Do you want this sword? Then I'll give it to you. You're welcome. After saying that, She immediately let go of the sword and turned around to fly around the corpse beast. Her left fist was surrounded by a thick ball of flame, and she fiercely punched the corpse beast's butt. The blood-colored light spun rapidly. Two luminaries' demonic dance. Bang! The giant corpse beast screamed in pain. Its butt was almost hit by Lin Muyu, and there was almost a meter-deep wound. It's time to return my weapon. Lin Muyu suddenly raised her hand and silently recited the sword manipulation technique. Suddenly, the Xianyuan sword began to spin with a buzzing sound. The invincible sharp blade directly cut the giant corpse beast's iron pincer under the high-speed rotation. Under Lin Muyu's control, the sword flew straight down. Puff! The Xianyuan sword that was covered in flames directly penetrated the corpse beast's heart, and a puff of rancid blood spurted out. Lin Muyu was not careless either. She punched and kicked, pouring streams of sharp power into the giant corpse beast's body. At the same time, she used the Xianyuan sword to control the sword with fire, and pierced the giant corpse beast dozens of times in a row. The giant corpse beast was full of holes and on the verge of collapse. Let's end this. Suddenly grasping the Xianyuan sword that was spinning back, Lin Muyu pushed the divine power in her body to the peak. She slashed several times in the air, and nearly 100-meter-long sword chi splashed out, cutting the giant corpse beast into dozens of pieces. At the same time, the blazing divine fire spread everywhere, quickly burning the corpse beast's body to prevent it from regenerating. Just like that, Ghost Hammer's biggest trump card was disintegrated. What? Ghost Hammer stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. A few seconds later, he fell to the ground and quickly burrowed into the soil. He was like a groundhog that was running for its life. The image of one of the guardians of the corpse-nurturing plains had completely disappeared. Chapter 1045. You still want to leave? Come out now. Lin Muyu flew through the air and suddenly fell to the ground. The Xianyuan sword pierced straight into the soil, and the sword chi penetrated deep into the ground. A strong power of the law of earth formed a tough stone awl, and forcibly pulled Ghost Mace's body out of the ground, as if he had dug up an earthworm. Master, please spare my life. Ghost Mace relied on the corpse slave army, and he did not have much ability himself, so he crawled and begged for mercy. How could Lin Muyu let him go back to report? It was already a big deal for him to enter the corpse breeding ground alone, and if he was not careful, he was afraid that he would die. So the principle was to kill as many as he could, and leave no one alive. Anyway, the owner of the corpse breeding ground was not a living person. Where is your imposing manner just now? Lin Muyu slashed down with her sword. You want to leave after showing off your power? Is there such a good thing in the world? Die first and then talk. You. Ghost Mace was extremely angry, and he raised his chain to block. Dang! Sparks flew, and the chain of the chain could not block the Xianyuan sword, and was directly cut off. Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation and slashed down with her sword, and with a crack, one of Ghost Mace's arms was directly cut off. My hand, my hand. Ghost Mace hurried to pick up his hand, because as long as he picked up his arm, he could still be reborn, but he did not expect that Lin Muyu would fall from the sky with a divine fire, and the arm was burned to ashes. I'm so angry. Ghost Mace roared, and his heart was full of anger. With a ferocious expression, he rushed to the sky, and the iron chain in his hand was like a whip, lashing at the neck of Lin Muyu. He decided to fight with his life. That's right, or I will be embarrassed to kill you. Lin Muyu blocked the iron chain while talking and laughing, and then another sword from a tricky angle. This time, Ghost Mace's other arm was also lost. Break. With falling star steps, the agility of Ghost Mace's body was beyond Lin Muyu's imagination. Lin Muyu chopped down at Ghost Mace's lower body and directly chopped off both of Ghost Mace's legs. Lin Muyu opened her left palm and burned it directly. As a result, Ghost Mace was suspended in the air like a melon, waving and trembling with rotten flesh on its broken arm. I'll kill you. I'm going to kill you. Ghost Hammer roared. Lin Muyu looked at him pitifully. Suddenly, her arm shook slightly, and a light wall appeared in front of Ghost Mace. It was like a mirror, reflecting Ghost Mace's sorry figure. Ghost Hammer was stunned. Lin Muyu said lightly, Do you still look like a human? Can you feel pain? You were so impressive in corpse-nurturing planes, but are you really alive? Ghost Hammer's expression was a bit twisted, but it was also very ferocious. He roared. So what? What can I do? I have no choice. Kill me now. I beg you. Don't be in such a hurry to die. Lin Muyu said, if you still have a conscience, tell me, what is the way to get rid of the death energy? Is there any way to get rid of the death energy in your body? Death energy? Ghost Hammer laughed coldly. The death energy will corrode a person's body, making them look like me. Do you think you can get rid of it? But some people don't. You mean the injuries caused by Dongfang Yan? Ghost Hammer said. Yes, it was caused by Dongfang Yan. Lin Muyu was a bit agitated. Do you know the way to cure this kind of corpse poison? There is no cure. Even if there is, I don't know, because it is not the death energy, but the secret poison of the immortal deity technique. In the whole world, I'm afraid only your master has a way to cure it. Who is your master? Lin Muyu was a bit confused. Ha 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 ha. Why are you asking so many questions? Why are you talking so much to a person who is about to die? Ghost Hammer's expression became even more ferocious, and he laughed out loud. Looks like someone close to you has been poisoned. That's great, that's really great. The heavens have eyes, let him die, let him accompany me in death. I was just worrying about not having a companion at the gates of hell. Ha ha ha, die, all of you go to hell. As you wish. The Xianyuan sword rose up, and the last part of Ghost Hammer's body turned into a pile of ashes in the air, disappearing with the wind. Some people should have died long ago, just because they didn't meet the person who would end them. After nearly an hour of fierce fighting, the corpse-nurturing plane was already in a mess. Broken limbs that hadn't been completely burned were everywhere, emitting a nauseating smell. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Nearly 30% of the divine power in her body had been consumed, and she couldn't go any further. She slowly landed on the ground and found a rock to sit on. She took out a piece of beef from her cosmos sack, and ate it with a flask of spirit fruit wine. She had to maintain sufficient stamina and divine power to better deal with the impending danger. Furthermore, there was no need to rush to find that so-called master, because she could feel that this master was also waiting for her. That overbearing aura had always been there, but it was a little vague and unfathomable. After resting for nearly 2 hours, the divine power in her body was full. After eating a peacefulness berry, she picked up the Xianyuan sword, and continued to fly slowly along the ground to the depths of the corpse-nurturing plane. Looking up at the sky, Lin Muyu was a little anxious, and she rose up and went straight to the sky. Swish, 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 streams of death fire rushed towards her. She raised the Xianyuan sword horizontally, and turned it into upstanding qi to block these streams of fire. Puffed, puffed, puffed sounds could be heard, as if the flames had collided with an ice wall. However, the price was that Lin Muyu's divine power was rapidly depleted. This won't do. He hurriedly turned over and landed on the ground. These flowing fire of death were the natural protection wall of the corpse-nurturing plane after tens of thousands of years, just like the atmosphere of the earth. It was these flowing fire of death that prevented the corpse chi of the corpse-nurturing plane from leaking out. This kind of power was not something that a single person could resist, even a supreme martial artist could not. Forcibly dispersing it would only be a waste of effort. Panting, Lin Muyu continued to move along the ground to the depths of the corpse-nurturing plane, with a trace of unwillingness in her heart, and headed straight for the breath of the master. There was no obstruction after 7 or 8 miles, but further forward, there was a huge basin in front of her, about 50 meters deep, so big that it would waste a lot of time to go around. Although she knew that this basin was not so simple, Lin Muyu still jumped down and walked in the basin. Grass began to grow here. Although it was some black weeds that could not survive for too long, at least there was a trace of vitality, which made people feel a little more comfortable. While moving forward, Lin Muyu looked around her. From afar, there seemed to be something at the edge of the basin. When she took a closer look, it was a hole that seemed to have been made by insects, and there was a faint glow of fire in the hole. Under the spiritual pulse technique, there was a surge of breath in the hole, and it was no surprise that it was the power of death. Here it comes again. Lin Muyu sighed and slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. Another battle was inevitable in this basin. As expected, very soon, the whole basin trembled slightly. Not long after, a rolling shadow appeared in the hole in the distance, like a roulette. That was a corpse beast, right? Bang, bang, bang. The ground trembled even more violently. It was a giant elephant, and on the back of the giant elephant stood a middle-aged man wearing golden armor. His face was covered in bright green paint, used to hide his rotten muscles. Soon, more and more corpse beasts gathered, making it impossible for Lin Muyu to escape. Moreover, he did not seem to want to escape at all. "Who are you?" Lin Muyu asked from afar. "Me." The person on the giant elephant laughed loudly. "You actually don't know me? I am a famous handsome man in the corpse-nurturing plains, and also a great general that controls 10,000 rolling corpse beasts. You can call me General Hua." "General Hua?" Lin Muyu found it funny. "What happened to your face?" "Don't ask me what happened to my face. Your armor looks very beautiful. I want it." General Hua hooked his finger. "Your sword is also not bad. It's also mine." Lin Muyu smiled. "Then what can I leave behind?" "You can leave nothing behind." The corners of General Hua's mouth curled into a hideous smile. "Those who enter the corpse cave basin, apart from their souls being able to ascend to heaven, their flesh and blood will also belong to me. Furthermore, who exactly are you? How did you manage to get past that idiot Ghost Hammer?" "I've already sent Ghost Hammer to the afterlife," Lin Muyu said casually. "Oh," General Hua squinted his eyes. "Then it seems like I can't underestimate you. Rolling corpse beasts, prepare to attack. Chop this brat into pieces, and bring his corpse to your master to receive a reward." Hee hee. The rolling corpse beasts opened their bloody mouths and looked at their prey ferociously. Lin Muyu frowned. The corpse cave basin was not so easy to pass. First of all, General Hua's power was far above Ghost Hammer. Judging from his death aura, he was at least at the level of a perfected divine emperor. Secondly, the rolling corpse beasts were hard to deal with as almost every one of them had the power of a hierarch. They could exhaust them to death even if they could not kill them. That was the scariest part. Lin Muyu knew he could not fight alone anymore. He immediately waved his palm and a six-pointed star appeared under his feet. "Acatosaurus, come and help me." Roar, roar, roar. Golden scales appeared on the ground. And in a blink of an eye, a mighty ancient divine dragon appeared in the sky. It was Acatosaurus, but its scales were golden. It seemed to have evolved once. And even its master, Lin Muyu, did not know when it evolved. Roar! Acatosaurus bared his fangs and claws and roared at the rolling corpse beasts, displaying his prowess as a dragon king, causing the rolling corpse beasts to tremble in fear. Some of them even took a few steps back. "What are you afraid of, a bunch of trash?" General Hua suddenly pulled out a dazzling long sword and shouted, "Go! The one who kills this brat, get the 10,000 men beast. The one who kills the dragon, get the 10,000 men beast." Lin Muyu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Was this General Hua really here to stop her? Or is he here to be a joke? Chapter 1046. Roar, roar, roar. The half-rotten rolling corpse beasts curled up their bodies, and their bodies were surrounded by poisonous death chi. They rolled over like wheels at an extremely fast speed, just like their name. The rumbling sound and the roars of the rolling corpse beasts filled the entire basin. It was a dark mass, which looked really scary. The Xianyuan sword was lowered, and the light of divine power was faintly discernible. Lin Muyu gently patted the head of Acatosaurus beside her and said, "Kill at will. Just don't get killed." Roar! With a dragon's roar, Acatosaurus's body slowly wriggled in the air. There was a white cloud around each of its 5 claws, which was an energy block condensed by the divine dragon power. When Acatosaurus opened its mouth, the air was already full of violent crackling sounds. It was thunder. Acatosaurus could not only summon wind and rain, but also thunder and lightning. Boom, boom, boom. Beams of lightning blasted out terrifying large pits in front of them. Acatosaurus waved its sharp claws and flew towards them. It opened its mouth and spat out a sweeping flame. This was the dragon flame of the divine dragon clan. How could those rolling corpse beasts withstand it? In the blink of an eye, they were all burned to ashes. Lin Muyu was not idle either. Acatosaurus blocked the rear, while he had to block the front. With a gentle wave of the Xianyuan sword, a beam of sword qi dozens of meters long whizzed out and cut a rolling corpse beast in half. Not surprisingly, the rolling corpse beast did not seem to have the ability to regenerate. It was just that its skin was rough and its flesh was thick. If it died, it was dead. His movements became faster and faster. Sword qi crisscrossed in front of Lin Muyu, leaving sharp and astonishing marks on the ground of the basin. The corpses of the rolling corpse beasts soon piled up in piles. He only used the chaos of all lives to kill the enemy and did not use any other moves. The first brilliance consumed less power, so it was very useful at this time. As time passed, it was impossible to calculate how many rolling corpse beasts had died. However, rumbling sounds could still be heard from afar. There were still undead armies that had yet to emerge from the corpse caves. This made Lin Muyu a little worried. What worried her even more was General Hua, who was watching the battle from afar. General Hua was a smart person. She was not in a hurry to make a move. She only ordered the rolling corpse beasts to consume Lin Muyu and Acatosaurus's strength. In the blink of an eye, nearly 2 hours had passed. Lin Muyu's arms were a little sore from hacking. She didn't know how many times she had waved the Xianyuan sword. Acatosaurus had almost exhausted its dragon power by spitting out flames. Just by sticking out its tongue, it could only spit out flames of 2 or 3 meters. Use the firestorm wheel. Lin Muyu glanced at Acatosaurus and said. The little dragon's obedient head suddenly began to curl up. Suddenly, the sharp dragon armor on its back protruded. The whole dragon instantly turned into a huge wheel and rushed straight into the battle formation of the rolling corpse beasts. The rolling corpse beasts also had scales, but they were obviously not comparable to Acatosaurus. In an instant, they were pierced into a bloody mess. This situation was like a huge steel wool crushing a fragile snail. If Acatosaurus had used the power of law before as a magic attack, then now Acatosaurus was purely using physical attacks to kill the enemy. Even General Hua, who was in the distance, frowned and said to himself, "What kind of sacred beast is this? It's so powerful. It's even more powerful than the ancient divine beasts. Even thousands of rolling corpse beasts can't do anything to it? Damn it." On the side, an ugly half-human, half-beast servant of the corpse cultivation plane pointed his finger and said a few words to General Hua. He seemed to be trying to persuade General Hua. General Hua held his sword and said lightly, "This Lin Muyu killed Ghost Hammer. She is destined to die. As for this dragon, if we can capture it, it's not a bad idea to make it the guardian beast of our corpse cave basin." He passed the order to continue the attack. When they exhaust their strength, it will be the day of our great success. Use the demon sound drum. Go. Yes. The servant quickly rushed into the distance. There, a rotten war flag and a ferocious giant drum were erected on a huge rock. The servant began to beat the drum with all his strength to pass the order. Dong, dong, dong. Every beat of the drum produced a sound wave. Moreover, it was a sound wave that made people feel dizzy. Lin Muyu, who was fighting a group of rolling corpse beasts, couldn't help but feel her mind waver. This war drum was famous. The sound was like a strand of power that drilled into one's blood, causing one's strength to begin to dissipate. How could this be? Acatosaurus, you block it. I'll go destroy that drum. Lin Muyu flew off after giving the order. The Xianyuan sword opened the way. How could the rolling corpse beasts resist? They were all turned into a pile of minced meat. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of the drum became more and more intense. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. The divine power in her body was dissipating. This war drum was definitely famous. Moreover, it seemed like the drum had no effect on the rolling corpse beasts. Could it be that it only had an effect on the living? In the distance, General Hua stood on the back of the giant elephant. He squinted his eyes and smiled. As expected, this kid can't withstand the demon sound drum's attack. Block him for me at all costs. Corpse demon, get ready to move out. Buzz, buzz. A layer of invisible waves spread out on the ground, as if something was moving underground. Roar, roar. The 3 rolling corpse beasts let out a final roar. Finally, they were dismembered by Lin Muyu's sword. The demon's sound drum was just ahead, less than 100 meters away. Lin Muyu looked at General Hua from afar. The ruler of the corpse cave basin didn't move at all. It seemed that General Hua didn't want to stop her from destroying the mysterious war drum. Swoosh! Swoosh! The divine power of light flowed and quickly condensed into a celestial dragon crystal on the blade of the Xianyuan sword. With a shout from Lin Muyu, the celestial dragon crystal flew out of her hand and went straight to the war drum. However, when the celestial dragon crystal flew less than 20 meters away, a barrier suddenly appeared in the air. Bang! With a loud noise, the celestial dragon crystal turned into powder, and the barrier also disappeared without a trace. The ground trembled violently. Blood-red energy whirled up and quickly condensed into human figures. They were two humans wearing black and white armor, holding a spear and two swords respectively. However, they weren't ordinary humans. They were sturdy giants with a height of 2.5 meters. Black and white corpse demons. Whether we can kill this Lin Muyu or not depends on you too. Go. General Hua ordered from afar. Roar. The two corpse demons didn't seem to know how to speak. They responded with roars and attacked from the left and right with a terrifying momentum. The sound of weapons cutting through the air was very ear-piercing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. This wasn't the ordinary sound of cutting through the air. The sound of ordinary weapons cutting through the air wouldn't be so ear-piercing. These two weapons didn't cut through the air, but the dimension. Good heavens, this corpse nurturing plane is really a place with many hidden talents. Two mere watchdogs have this kind of ability. No wonder the people of the 64 domains were unwilling to touch the corpse nurturing plane for so many years. So that's why. Others didn't dare to move, but Lin Muyu didn't necessarily dare to move. Holding the Xianyuan sword in her right hand, her left hand reached for her waist, and a little magic noise blade was already in her palm. Facing the attack of the black and white corpse demons, Lin Muyu didn't retreat but advanced instead. Using the fallen star steps, her figure passed through the middle of the two corpse demons like lightning. With two clang-clang sounds, the Xianyuan sword and the little magic noise blade blocked the long spear and the double sword of the two corpse demons respectively. The power of the law under her feet rotated rapidly, and the spirit beads of law had already broken out of her body. The speed at which Lin Muyu turned around was much faster than that of the black and white corpse demons. With a turn of her body, she waved the long sword and the little magic noise blade to launch a fierce attack on the back of the white corpse demon. Roar. The roar of the white corpse was filled with astonishment. Suddenly, he turned around and slashed out with the sword in his left hand. With a dang sound, the blade actually withstood the power of the Xianyuan sword and didn't break. But at the same time, the little magic noise blade in Lin Muyu's left hand quietly passed by. Crack! A wound about 10 centimeters deep appeared on the white armor of the white corpse demon, directly revealing the rotten flesh below. In the dimensional cold wind, the black corpse demon's long spear quickly pierced over. Lin Muyu didn't think too much. She turned her body in the air and used the Xianyuan sword to parry the black corpse demon's long spear. At the same time, her right leg was filled with the profound energy of the two glorious demonic dance, drawing a domineering arc and directly kicking the neck of the white corpse demon. Kacha sound, most likely the bones in the neck of the white corpse demon were broken. However, a demon was a demon, injured but not dead. He waved the two swords and slashed at the legs of Lin Muyu. How could Lin Muyu be at a disadvantage? Before the blade of the white corpse demon reached, she shouted in a low voice, "7 luminaries immortal gourd." Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Golden vines suddenly appeared in the air and quickly bound White Corpse's wrist. With his wrist restrained, White Corpse's slash naturally stopped halfway. On the other hand, Lin Muyu quickly used the rebound of the Black Corpse Demon's attack to quickly charge at White Corpse. Her figure flashed, and the blade of the sword carried a strong purple lightning. Crack! Lin Muyu's body almost flew around White Corpse's body, and the Xianyuan sword also circled around White Corpse Demon's neck. In the next moment, rotten blood burst out, and White Corpse Demon's huge head slowly rolled down from his body. He knelt on the ground, and the two swords swayed weakly in the air a few times before lying down. White Corpse Demon dead. Roar roar. Seeing that his companion had died, Black Corpse let out a sorrowful cry. The long spear in his hand quickly stabbed out with a blood-colored energy attack. Lin Muyu couldn't dodge in time, and could only use the dragon blood shield with one hand to defend. Pung pung pung, her body trembled violently. The strength of the black and white corpse demons was indeed frightening. This round of attack made Lin Muyu's left arm feel weak. She couldn't delay, and had to end the battle quickly. Lin Muyu slashed in the air, and Black Corpse blocked it with his long spear. Immediately, the chaos of the lives spread along the long spear. Before Black Corpse Demon could react, Lin Muyu's next attack had already arrived. It was the attack of the little magic sonar blade. Snowflakes floated on the blade, and that was the jade snow ice energy of the star arts. Chi! The little magic sonar blade stabbed straight into Black Corpse Demon's neck, and the cold energy quickly swept through the demon's neck. At this moment, Black Corpse Demon was already stunned, and his movements also slowed down a lot. Die! Lin Muyu kicked Black Corpse Demon's head in the air. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound, and the frozen neck directly broke. Black Corpse Demon's body fell down, and lay together with White Corpse Demon. Shwa! The little magic sonar blade flew out, and it quickly pierced through the demonic sound drum in the distance. Then it smoothly swept past, and took care of the servant who was beating the drum. Shwa shwa shwa! The flying dagger flew in the air with a sharp sound. General Hua's body trembled, and his face was full of disgust. Be asterisk starred. Be asterisk starred, you actually killed so many of my people. Unforgivable, unforgivable. Chapter 1047. Bastard, it's time for you to die. General Hua quickly unsheathed his sword. This sword was streamlined, elegant, and dignified, but the sword was surrounded by a thick bloody aura that was wild and ostentatious. It was a good sword, but it had already been demonized in the corpse-nurturing planes. Swoosh! General Hua leaped forward. He could sense that Lin Muyu's strength had declined to about 60%. This was the best time to kill him. The sword was full of cold aura. General Hua attacked while shouting, "I'll let you see the power of the Dong Hua sword." Dong Hua sword. Lin Muyu was stunned. He quickly put away the demonic noise saber, and held the Xianyuan sword tightly with both hands. Three luminaries calamity. Pung. The Xianyuan sword and the Dong Hua sword collided violently. At the same time, the power of death around General Hua and Lin Muyu's 7 luminaries' profound energy surged. Explosions caused by the collision of the profound energies sounded continuously, causing the Acatosaurus and the rolling corpse beasts, who were fighting in the distance, to look over in shock. Hiss hiss! The clothes on Lin Muyu's wrist had already begun to burn and evaporate. General Hua's strength was indeed not weak. This Dong Hua sword was definitely one of the divine artifacts. It could actually compete with the Xianyuan sword in terms of strength. The intense power of death crazily attacked her body. Lin Muyu also felt rather uncomfortable at this moment. The most terrifying thing about fighting with an expert of the law of death was not the opponent's strength, but the all-pervasive power of death. If she was not careful, she might end up like Qin Yin. But when she thought of Qin Yin, Lin Muyu felt a surge of strength rising from the bottom of her heart. The divine power in her arms seemed to have increased a lot. Clang clang clang, beams of golden light bloomed in the air. In the blink of an eye, the weapons of the two had collided nearly 100 times. Under the mighty power of the Xianyuan sword, the Dong Hua sword was not damaged at all. Moreover, it seemed to be getting stronger as the battle went on. Lin Muyu gasped for breath. The Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly, and the white cloak of the Qiyu armor fluttered behind him, making him look like a god of war. General Hua felt even worse. For thousands of years, the number of God state experts who had died under General Hua's Dong Hua sword was in the double digits. However, there had never been anyone like Lin Muyu. His divine power made General Hua feel extremely uncomfortable. That kind of blazing, unrestrained, and majestic power was what the law of death feared the most. Furthermore, the scariest thing was that General Hua had met many God Arch Realm experts, but none of them were as good at fighting as Lin Muyu. The battle between God Realm experts was not just about strength, it was also a game of skills and battle tactics. General Hua had never seen Lin Muyu's ability to change and attack ingeniously in battle. This was also the scariest part about her. Swish. In a moment of distraction, the Xianyuan sword had already scratched General Hua's knee. Immediately, a strong wave of supreme divine power seeped into it. Ah! General Hua's scream was very miserable. He had already realized that he had lost. Why? Why? General Hua's attack began to become disorganized, and he was simply fighting with the power of death. Buzz! The Dong Hua sword carried a thick blood-red color as it stabbed forward. Lin Muyu saw it clearly. Suddenly, she flipped her wrist and used the hilt of the Xianyuan sword to hold onto the reverse streamline of the blade of the Dong Hua sword. Her left hand quickly blasted out, filled with the dark energy of the chaos of the lives. If she did not dodge this attack, perhaps General Hua's arm would be destroyed. In his shock, General Hua had no choice but to let go of his sword. Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation, and in the next moment, the Dong Hua sword was already in his hand. Under the attack of the power of light, the power of death in the Dong Hua sword was quickly dispelled. Suddenly, this peerless divine weapon revealed its original appearance. It shone brightly and was crystal clear. Vast divine power kept circulating within it. It was indeed a good thing. With a sword in one hand, Lin Muyu raised his eyebrows and looked at General Hua. He said, "Admit defeat. Let me leave this corpse cave basin, and maybe I can consider letting you live." General Hua looked straight at him, and was silent for nearly half a minute. Suddenly he said, "If I let you go, what awaits me is still death. Your master will not let me go. What if I kill your master as well?" Lin Muyu shook the Dong Hua sword in his hand. General Hua pondered for a moment, and did not say anything. Lin Muyu continued, "If you continue to resist now, you will definitely die. But if you let me go and withdraw your army of death, then perhaps you will have a chance to live. The chance for me to kill your master is the chance for you to live. You should be able to settle such a simple score, right?" "All right." General Hua finally lowered his head and suddenly blew a whistle. Immediately, the rolling corpse beasts that were fighting with Acatosaurus on the ground dispersed like the tide. Returning to the corpse cave. "Sit down and have a chat?" Lin Muyu smiled amicably. He needed time to recover his divine power. If he recklessly went to fight his master now, he would most likely lose his life. General Hua had already accepted his fate of defeat. He nodded and said, "If you don't mind the rotting smell in the corpse cave, how about we go to the corpse cave?" "I don't mind. Let's just stay on the ground." "All right." General Hua smiled awkwardly. The two of them landed together on the ground after the battle. The divine power in Lin Muyu's body circulated, and began to rapidly recover his strength. Meanwhile, General Hua's gaze was fixed on the Dong Hua sword. "You want the Dong Hua sword back?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "Yes." "No way. It's mine now. I need it." "Then don't." "That's more like it." Lin Muyu smiled at him and asked, "When did you die?" "Die?" General Hua was silent for a few seconds and said, "About 5,000 years ago. I was still young then. After I died, my bones were dragged into the corpse-nurturing plains. Then I was resurrected by your master and became like this." "Tell me about your master. I need to know more about him. Otherwise, I'm afraid the chances are slim." General Hua nodded and thought for a moment. "No one in the corpse-nurturing plains has ever seen your master's true face. He is very mysterious. He has always existed in the void, receiving the corpses of mortals to pass messages and teach the immortal deity technique. Why doesn't your master show his true face to others?" "I don't know either. Maybe it's to hide something?" Lin Muyu thought for a moment and asked, "General, do you know what's weak about your master?" "Weak?" General Hua couldn't help but laugh. "To be honest, I don't know either. No one has ever seen your master. It's as if he doesn't exist. How can something that doesn't exist be weak? Then, how can I find your master?" Lin Muyu continued to ask. "Well..." General Hua hesitated for a moment and said, "Your master has always existed in the deepest part of the corpse-nurturing plains. It's called the 10,000 Corpse Ridge. There are countless corpses there. It's also a place that I guard. The 10,000 Corpse Ridge is only 30 miles from here. I think your master should have already sensed your arrival. Now, even if you want to leave, you probably can't. Will your master come to the Corpse Cave Basin to kill me? Lin Muyu asked. That won't happen. General Hua pondered for a moment. In my memory, your master never leaves the 10,000 Corpse Ridge. Even if he summons us, he would only send his dead servants. What exactly is this master? Lin Muyu was a little annoyed. General Hua smiled. You'll know when you go to the corpse nurturing plains. I can only wish you good luck. Only if you kill your master can I continue to live. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll end up like the previous guardian. What end? Soul refining. Oh, Lin Muyu had heard of soul refining when she was in the ghost realm. This kind of evil art could only be done by her master, who was neither human nor ghost, and the ghosts and immortals in the ghost realm. Up ahead, who else could possibly stop me? No, unless it's someone close to your master, General Hua said. What do you mean by someone close to your master? They are just some corpse slaves raised by your teacher. There are also some people who enter the corpse nurturing plane halfway, just like Dongfang Yan. Those people are extremely powerful. They sell their souls and bodies for power. Their power is so strong that no one can resist them. Oh, I get it. Lin Muyu stretched out his hand. Since you've already given me the Dong Hua sword, can you give me the scabbard? Oh, General Hua smiled awkwardly. He untied the scabbard and gave it to Lin Muyu. Nearly 4 hours later, the sky darkened. The divine power in Lin Muyu's body was full again. In fact, he had been worried that his master would cause trouble during this time. But it seemed that this master was very mysterious. He actually let him recover his divine power. It was really strange. After saying goodbye to General Hua, he ordered a Catasaurus to return to the alternate space to rest and recover. Then he embarked on a new journey. For a god emperor like him, there was no difference between day and night. It was not bad to visit the legendary master of the corpse nurturing plains in the middle of the night. The further he went, the thicker the corpse aura became. It was as if he had stepped into purgatory. Occasionally, 1 or 2 stupid corpse slaves would come looking for trouble. However, Lin Muyu took care of them with a casual strike. After a series of fierce battles, Lin Muyu felt that the power in his body had reached a peak. If he wanted to continue improving, he had to break through a bottleneck. And this bottleneck was the 80th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. However, it seemed that this realm was not simple. Every time there was a sign of a breakthrough, it would disappear without a trace. Flying at a low altitude for dozens of miles, the sky in front of him became clear. There was a blood moon in the sky. He could faintly see black crows circling in the sky. He did not know if they were black crows or not. Lin Muyu became more cautious. An extremely powerful aura seemed to be sleeping. Once it was awakened, it would be troublesome. There were corpses everywhere in the 10,000 Corpse Ridge. There was not a single inch of the ground that was intact. Clang! Clang! The Xianyuan sword and the Donghua sword were almost unsheathed at the same time. Lin Muyu carried the 2 swords and slowly stepped on the rotten ground into the 10,000 Corpse Ridge. No matter who this master was, Lin Muyu had to face this strong enemy. Chapter 1048. A flock of black crows circled above her head. Lin Muyu carried her 2 swords and walked forward step by step. The spirit meridian technique spread out. The chi in the 10,000 Corpse Ridge was very chaotic. It was violent and raging. The death chi was so thick that it made people almost unable to breathe. Piles of corpses stood like small mountains. And in the distance were corpse beasts crawling among the corpses. They were motionless, as if they were enjoying absorbing the aura of death. Crack! Crushing an unknown bone under her foot, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. At this time, a gloomy voice sounded from the blood-colored mountain ridge in the distance. Trespassing into the corpse-nurturing plains, you really didn't take the road to heaven, but instead came to hell. This voice was somewhat familiar. Although it was a bit hoarse, she could vaguely recognize it. Lin Muyu looked up. Under the moonlight, a person wearing a black robe stood on the hillside, his long hair dancing in the cold wind. Looking closely, that face was familiar yet strange. It was covered with small ulcers, and a tyrannical aura of death lingered around him. This person's aura was too similar to Dongfang Yan's, but it wasn't Dongfang Yan's. You are? Lin Muyu chuckled. You're Dongfang Jin, right? I didn't expect you to be the same as Dongfang Yan, selling your body for power. But do you think this is useful? Dongfang Jin laughed maniacally and said, Lin Muyu, aren't you being too arrogant? This corpse-nurturing plains isn't just guarded by me, Dongfang Jin. With just you, heh, you're simply throwing your life away. Corpse demon guards. What are you waiting for? Kill this little Dragon League master for me. Perhaps, in the eyes of the demon dwellers of the corpse-nurturing plains, a mere Dragon League wasn't worth mentioning. Rustling sounds came from the surrounding soil as death energy flowed back, condensing into dark shadows, just like the black and white twin demons. These corpse demons were far stronger than the corpse beasts and corpse slaves, and each of them had a weapon, which was at least a substandard god artifact. From this, one could see how much effort the master had spent to create this corpse demon army. Lin Muyu didn't move at all. She looked fearlessly at the corpses that appeared one after another. There was a total of 15 corpses, and each of them had the cultivation of 70th Grotto Heaven Realm God the Arch. This was extremely troublesome. Even though these corpses weren't proficient in battle techniques, it was still difficult to deal with them with brute force alone. He. Dongfang Jin laughed coldly. You dare to come to the corpse-nurturing plains alone? Do you think you can conquer the entire corpse-nurturing plains just by killing a few corpse demons and beasts? Let me tell you the truth. In corpse cultivation plains, besides your respected master, there are also 11 devil spirit commanders and nearly 100 corpse demons. The number of corpse demons and corpse beasts number in the hundreds of thousands. Can you kill them all by yourself? Lin Muyu raised the Xianyuan sword and pointed it straight at Dongfang Jin. I can still kill you. Let's deal with the corpse demons in front of us first. Otherwise, you're not qualified to challenge me at all. Ha. I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to challenge me. Let's talk about it after we get through this. Dongfang Jin laughed extremely arrogantly, even more arrogant than his uncle, Dongfang Yan. Roar. A group of corpse demons had already surrounded Lin Muyu quietly. Almost every corpse demon had already started to raise their chi. The surrounding black chi danced wildly, and a gloomy aura spread rapidly. Moreover, these corpse demons all had different weapons. There were long swords, axes, spears, and strange weapons like the heavenly halberd and the octagonal purple golden hammer. This made it even more difficult to deal with them. With a shrill scream, 3 corpse demons attacked almost at the same time. A heavy black warhammer fell from above, followed by a sword and a spear. All 3 directions had been blocked, and the pervasive death aura flew over like a flood. Behind her were the attacks of the other 5 corpse demons at the same time. On the ground, the energy of the tentacles of death was dancing, which made Lin Muyu feel that there was no way out. However, this was just an illusion. The difference of half a second between real experts was like the difference between heaven and earth. Swish swish. A ray of golden light flowed through Lin Muyu's fingertips. That's right, it was the power of samsara. At that moment, the flow of time at Lin Muyu's position slowed down by more than 10 times. The weapons that seemed to be falling at the same time also showed a flaw, a huge flaw. The Xianyuan sword shone brightly. Lin Muyu sidestepped the attack of the warhammer, and the Donghua sword fiercely blocked the thrust of the spear. The Xianyuan sword chopped on the neck of a corpse demon with the divine power of a fatal blow. Bang! The whole head was almost instantly destroyed by Lin Muyu's divine power of light and exploded. The flesh and bones were instantly evaporated into beams of spiritual splendor that soared into the sky. All the phenomena of heaven and earth, listen to my command. Take advantage of the power of heaven and earth. The 2 heavenly weapons became thicker and sharper. Lin Muyu's figure flashed like a dream and fiercely chopped twice. 3 glorious beings calamity. The violent airflow rushed around, and in the blink of an eye, another 2 corpse demons became corpses. Bang! The ground behind him suddenly sank, and he felt a sharp pain. His shoulder seemed to have been hit by an axe. Although he couldn't split open Lin Muyu's spirit wall, his strength had been damaged. There were too many corpse demons, and their attacks were coordinated and orderly. No matter how fast Lin Muyu was, she was not completely flawless. But the battlefield was like this. The smallest damage in exchange for the greatest results was a truth that Lin Muyu had long understood for many years. When the sword shattered the head of the fourth corpse demon, the golden elephant wheel under Lin Muyu's feet spun rapidly. Under the bombardment of dozens of elephant wheels, several corpse demons hurriedly raised their weapons and retreated to block. Pung pung pung. The sound of explosions was continuous. These corpse demons were very good, and their defense was flawless. But the real flaw was the disparity of strength. This time, Lin Muyu didn't hold back her strength. She turned around and chopped down with both swords. With a shout, the dark power of the sixth glorious heavenly tribulation blasted into the position of the four corpse demons like a mad dragon. Boom! Heaven and earth were reversed, and the space was extremely distorted. Beams of divine power easily devoured the bodies of the four corpse demons, turning their bodies into dust and dust. In less than half a minute, 8 corpse demons died in battle. Dongfang Jin watched quietly, with no sadness or joy on his face. The death of these corpse demons had nothing to do with him. But what was worth celebrating was that after Lin Muyu used a stronger move, the consumption of divine power also increased visibly. This was definitely good news for Dongfang Jin. Roar! The corpse demons opened their mouths and roared, but a golden light flashed, and the Xianyuan sword pierced directly into the mouth of a corpse demon. Lin Muyu's arm trembled slightly, and the blade shook, directly shattering the head of the corpse demon. But at this moment, the 2 corpse demons on the left attacked at the same time. Lin Muyu waved the Donghua sword without thinking. Bang! The power was shocking, and the 2 corpse demons were shaken back nearly 10 meters. But at this moment, a cold light suddenly appeared in the air, and with a chi sound, Lin Muyu felt a burning pain on her right arm. The god wall was pierced, and she was injured. And it was a blood-red dagger that stabbed her. It was a silent corpse demon with 2 daggers, like an assassin, who caused the first injury to Lin Muyu. After the successful attack, the corpse demon immediately retreated, but it was too easy for Lin Muyu to kill him. The depths of the earth trembled, and a bunch of gourd vines rushed out of the ground, directly binding the legs of the corpse demon. Lin Muyu slashed down from the sky with a sword chi, and a golden light fell from the sky. The corpse demon's eyes were wide open, and he couldn't escape. He let out a sharp scream, and was instantly evaporated into a pile of dust by the sword chi. The 10th. There were only 5 corpse demons left. He's injured, kill him for me, it's too easy. Dongfang Jin said coldly, neither far nor near. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, raised the corner of her mouth. She was actually able to deal with the attacks of the 5 corpse demons with ease. Her body suddenly fell backward. Her heroic posture was like an iron plank bridge. At the same time, she dodged the axe and a ray of light flowed out from her left combat boot. It was the power of jade snow. She kicked the 11th corpse demon from below and instantly turned it into a pile of crushed ice. The Xianyuan sword and the Donghua sword quickly attacked together, smashing the heads of the other 2 corpse demons. Behind her, suddenly, a bang sound was heard, and she was hit violently. Lin Muyu couldn't help but spit out blood, and took a few steps forward. The one who hit her was a corpse demon with a heavy shield, and it was also the strongest corpse demon in this group of corpse demons. Swish! A cold arrow shot quickly, and it was the only one among the 15 corpse demons who used a bow and arrow. The previous 7 or 8 arrows were all avoided by Lin Muyu, but the speed of this arrow was amazing, and it went straight for Lin Muyu's throat. It was too late to dodge, and it was even too late to use samsara. At the critical moment, Lin Muyu suddenly lowered her body without thinking, and opened her mouth to bite the arrow. With a bang sound, the handle of the black arrow was shattered, and the arrowhead was bitten by Lin Muyu. The shock made her feel a faint pain, but fortunately her life was saved, otherwise the arrow might have pierced her throat. Die. After spitting out the arrowhead, Lin Muyu rushed forward quickly, and the 2 swords fell on the heavy shield 7 or 8 times in a row, directly disintegrating the heavy shield. At the same time, the sword chi passed through the heavy shield and evaporated the corpse demons behind. So only the bow-wielding corpse demon in the distance was left. Lin Muyu was a little anxious. and she had to finish the battle quickly. Otherwise, according to Dongfang Jin, there were still 70 or 80 corpse demons of this strength, and she would be dead if they came. What are you chasing? Your opponent is me. In the air, a violent roar came. It was Dongfang Jin, who descended from the sky with a long saber in his hand. This saber was powerful, and if she didn't dodge or meet the attack, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lin Muyu was furious. Dongfang Jin was indeed a smart man, leaving a corpse demon with a longbow to cooperate with the reinforcements. What a good plan. Chapter 1049. She raised her two swords and summoned the wall of the gourd as quickly as possible to block Dongfang Jin's long-prepared attack. Pung! Golden light burst out, and Lin Muyu felt weak in her arms. She was no match for Dongfang Jin's attack, and was forced to retreat dozens of steps. This was the first time she had been forced to retreat. The aura of death penetrated the wound on her wrist, but the light of the Xianyuan sword kept flashing, and an extremely mighty aura of righteousness protected its master's body from being invaded by the aura of death. Lin Muyu's retreating figure flipped in the air, avoiding the archer's fatal blow. She had to kill this archer first. Ha 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 ha, Dai, leader of the Dragon League. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death, and the one who will kill you will be me, Dongfang Jin. You must have never thought of this. Dongfang Jin flew over, his face full of complacency. He had always been second to Dongfang Yan in the Raging Fire territory, and he had probably been depressed for too long. At this moment he was full of arrogance, which was his true nature. Buzz! The aura of death swept over the long saber. Dongfang Jin fought Lin Muyu, who had lost less than 50% of his strength, in his strongest state. Naturally he could crush her. This attack was not something that Lin Muyu could easily withstand. Surrounded by the aura of death, Lin Muyu couldn't escape. Moreover, the aura of death here was too strong, and she couldn't grasp the position of the void-breaking realm. So, she could only give up. She swung her swords, and the Dong Hua sword collided with the blade of Dongfang Jin's long saber. Lin Muyu quickly turned around and blocked the attack with the Xianyuan sword for the second time, and then with the Dong Hua sword for the third time. It took her a total of 3 sword attacks to barely deflect Dongfang Jin's fatal attack. Swish, swish, swish. The flames on the blade swirled rapidly, and it was scalded by Lin Muyu's 3 sword attacks. Huh. Dongfang Jin was a little surprised. His strength was clearly above his opponent's, but his attack had been neutralized just like that. Just how powerful was Lin Muyu? Just as Dongfang Jin was reeling in shock, Lin Muyu took advantage of the momentum to retreat several dozen meters. She then raised her 2 swords and sliced the body of the final corpse demon into pieces, which were then incinerated into spiritual splendor, and scattered into the wind. Finally, all of the corpse demons had been taken care of, and only Dongfang Jin remained. Good, good, good. Dongfang Jin suddenly laughed out loud. This kind of battle is interesting. I want to see how many more abilities you have yet to use. The aura of death rapidly increased, and Dongfang Jin raised his long saber and charged forward. The wind and clouds around him surged, and bolts of dark lightning descended from the sky, wreaking havoc around Lin Muyu. Was this Dongfang Jin's domain? This time, it was Lin Muyu's turn to suffer. She had originally planned to fight a protracted battle to stall for time, and use the rapid recovery ability of her supremacy to win. But Dongfang Jin's summoning of such a domain also meant that Lin Muyu had to allocate more than half of her divine power to the divine wall to resist the lightning strikes. Otherwise, Dongfang Jin would not even need to do anything, and Lin Muyu would die in the death domain. Smart. Dongfang Jin was much smarter than Dongfang Yan. At the very least, he already knew where Lin Muyu's weakness was. Lin Muyu raised her 2 swords and let out a roar. Divine wheels began to spin rapidly around her, constantly imbuing her with divine energy. Facing Dongfang Jin's ferocious attack, she could only face it head-on. Otherwise, she would die a horrible death. When Lin Muyu's power began to fluctuate, the raging lightning and deathly flames in the surroundings gradually dissipated into nothingness. It was as though the entire world had become tranquil and peaceful. Below Lin Muyu's feet, a gigantic 8 trigrams constellation slowly appeared. A vast and mighty force began to emanate from it. The power of the fourth stage of the invisible elephant technique was fully displayed. The invisible elephant originated from the great void, and it emphasized the Tao of yin and yang, complementing each other. Everything that Fuxi understood, Lin Muyu was also gradually understanding. The violent aura seemed to have become fleeting clouds in front of him. Everything seemed like a dream, and whether it was real or fake, it all depended on his thoughts. Oh! Lin Muyu suddenly opened his eyes, as if he had seen a ray of light in the darkness. He had an insight into an unprecedented power. It was an indescribable feeling. He felt that he was about to break through, but he didn't know how to do it. Humph, pretending, but you are still so weak. Dongfang Jin roared fiercely. He raised his long saber and swung it with great force. The saber light raged, constantly cutting open the great void power that Lin Muyu had condensed. Bang! The moment it was completely cut open, the long saber landed on the Donghua sword, causing Lin Muyu to tremble all over. Instantly, he moved nearly 100 meters away, leaving a long mark on the ground. Ha ha ha! You are still so weak? Dongfang Jin laughed wildly. He raised his long saber and struck again like lightning. He already had the upper hand in terms of power and momentum. Even if Lin Muyu comprehended the great void, it didn't seem to make any difference. After dozens of fierce attacks, Lin Muyu could only parry and couldn't fight back at all. You're still not going to die? What are you still struggling for? Dongfang Jin descended from the sky and struck down heavily. Lin Muyu looked up and raised the Xianyuan sword to block. Clang! Golden light splashed, and the Xianyuan sword trembled. Blood flowed rapidly from the wound on Lin Muyu's wrist. Dongfang Jin's eyes suddenly lit up. He laughed and said, Lin Muyu's divine blood tastes good. He opened his mouth wide and drank the golden blood that surged in the wind from Lin Muyu. Do you like it? Then drink as much as you want. Lin Muyu let out a furious roar and opened her arms wide, allowing the blood to flow out of her body. At the same time, she circulated her energy and a blood-red halo rapidly condensed around her. Beams of lightning began to flicker, blood refining the firmament. Is it this again? Dongfang Jin had seen the blood-refining firmament before. He laughed loudly and raised his long saber again. He roared, Break for me today. I, Dongfang Jin, am invincible. Bam! The saber light collided with the blood-refining firmament's domain, and an extremely tyrannical force poured down, causing Lin Muyu's entire body to be in pain. A wave of pain surged into his heart, and at the same time, the beam of spiritual light in his eye seemed to flicker more and more intensely. Power, that was the power that Lin Muyu yearned for. Come out and be used by me. Lin Muyu roared in the sea of mind. Life and death were hanging by a thread, so he could only yearn for a breakthrough. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The spiritual light trembled violently and suddenly exploded, turning into thousands of rays of light that illuminated the entire sky in his eye. A mighty and powerful power quickly poured into his body. Lin Muyu's body was like a dried-up river suddenly being filled with a heavy rain. He slowly opened his eyes. The moment the blood-refining firmament broke, rays of golden light plated his body. Every inch of the surface of his skin was faintly flowing with golden light, and his whole person was like a god descending to the world. His power almost instantly reached a new level. The breakthrough was complete. The advantages and disadvantages of the domain were instantly reversed. This time, Lin Muyu's invisible elephant domain was completely superior to his opponent. The Xianyuan sword only trembled slightly, and Dongfang Jin vomited blood and retreated. Ow! How is this possible? Dongfang Jin's voice trembled violently. Looking at Lin Muyu's current appearance, he murmured, It's the immortal golden body. It really is the immortal golden body. How can anyone obtain the immortal golden body? This is impossible. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The immortal golden body was an ability obtained after breaking through the 80th level of the Grotto Heaven. However, there were very few godly state experts who could comprehend the immortal golden body. Even the rulers of the heaven realm, and the 7 luminaries demon emperor, did not comprehend the immortal golden body. The immortal golden body was just a legend, but today, it had reappeared in the world. Between life and death, benevolence decided the world. Lin Muyu probably did not expect that it was his stubbornness, the courage to survive in the face of death, and the innate advantage of the sovereign personality that allowed him to obtain the favor of the immortal golden body. The immortal golden body was a legendary ability that could greatly improve one's strength, speed, defense, insight, and other abilities. It was a power that people in the three realms dreamed of, and now it had appeared in Lin Muyu's body. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Dongfang Jin shook his head slowly. His face was filled with shock and anger. He raised his saber again and roared. I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. You can't fool me, this is all an illusion. Boom. The long saber that was filled with the flames of death descended from the sky again. However, this time, Lin Muyu did not use a weapon to parry. Instead, he only opened his left hand. With a ding sound, 2 fingers easily caught Dongfang Jin's long saber and blew away the tyrannical flames of death in one breath. Lin Muyu's clear eyes looked at Dongfang Jin emotionlessly. Suddenly, he flipped his wrist and threw Dongfang Jin and his saber to the ground. Huh. Dust and bones flew into the air. Dongfang Jin lay in a deep pit in a sorry state. He looked up at Lin Muyu, who was covered in golden light in the sky. At this moment, he realized how terrifying the disparity in strength was. He was no match for Lin Muyu at all. Even though he outnumbered Lin Muyu, he still lost in the end. However, Dongfang Jin had no way out. Only by killing Lin Muyu and taking his sovereign personality would he have a chance to be reborn. Otherwise, what was the point of living in such a state? I refuse to accept this. Dongfang Jin sprang up and pounced toward Lin Muyu again. Lin Muyu raised his palm in the direction that Dongfang Jin was charging from. He released his strength, and a golden will shot out. Boom. The dignified deputy domain lord of the Raging Fire domain was instantly reduced to ashes. At this moment, the gap between him and Lin Muyu was simply too great. Looking at the wisps of dust in the air, Lin Muyu frowned and did not say anything. Dongfang Jin was dead, but the culprit was still here. Moreover, Lin Muyu also knew where the culprit was. What, you're still not coming out? Are you so ashamed to see others? In the darkness, the countless bones on the 10,000 corpse ridge suddenly spun rapidly, followed by a creepy laughter. Dongfang Jin, that trash, is indeed no match for you. Lin Muyu, your talent is so outstanding. Are you willing to become my personal disciple? No. Lin Muyu looked at the huge skull formed by countless bones and said, I'm here to end you. Chapter 1050. Kill me. The illusion of your master danced wildly in the night sky like a ghost. He laughed and said, I've lived for so long, but I've never seen a junior as arrogant as you. But since you're here to make trouble for me, I might as well play with you. If you win, I'll give you the antidote that can save Qinin. If you lose, you'll have to obediently become my disciple. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. What can a creature like you teach me? Forget it. If you hand over the antidote now, I can consider letting you live. Your master didn't even have a body. He was just a figure condensed by something else. Lin Muyu really didn't want to face such an opponent. Let me live? Ha 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 ha. Your master laughed wildly. I'm already dead. How can I live? Come on, boy, show me what you've got. Let me see how strong the strongest rookie of the 64 domains is. Let me see if the new generation of the 64 domains is still so weak. Lin Muyu flew out with his sword. The 2 swords swept across like a windmill, and the raging flames surged. It was unstoppable. However, your master didn't seem to want to resist. Countless bones were instantly cut into pieces by the Xianyuan sword and Donghua sword. Lin Muyu's body directly passed through the skull, leaving a blazing flame. Swoosh! The flame burned fiercely, but the huge skull quickly dispelled the flame and continued to absorb the bones on the ground. In the blink of an eye, it condensed into a complete form again. Ha! Your master laughed. Is this all you've got? Come on, let me see what you're really capable of, Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu stood in the air with his sword and frowned. The illusion of your master was like a big ball of cotton. After cutting into it, he couldn't find the real target at all. Even if he shattered the illusion formed by these bones, it would be in vain. However, he didn't believe it. He tried again. Whoosh! He rushed down like a bolt of lightning, and the Xianyuan sword shone brightly. The laws of heaven and earth were slightly distorted, and the bones were constantly shattered. When the Xianyuan sword fell, it brought with it the power of heaven and earth. 6 elements heavenly tribulation. Boom. Fire and lightning intertwined. Lin Muyu blasted out a powerful move that was second only to the astral transformation within the 7 luminaries. The shapeless elephant art was infused within it, and the power of the domain covered the sky as it descended, crushing down like a mountain. Boom boom boom. In the blink of an eye, the entire skull turned into dust, and the bones turned into dust that was blown away by the wind. Is he dead? Lin Muyu's heart trembled. No, his teacher's evil presence was still there, and it was still very strong. It made him feel extremely disgusted. Good and evil could not coexist. Lin Muyu's divine power originated from the righteous Fushi's divine power. He hated his teacher's power of death. Similarly, his teacher also hated Lin Muyu's divine power. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The cold wind of the night swept through the air. Lin Muyu pricked up his ears to listen. At the same time, his eyes stared at everything around him, as if there was any movement. Sure enough, rustling sounds came from all directions. Underground, bulging things were drilling out one after another. They were corpse slaves. Countless corpse slaves were waking up from their slumber. They were originally skeletons in the tomb, but now they were summoned again. This revered master seemed to have no intention of disturbing the eternal slumber of others. Roar! The corpse slaves stood up one by one and stared blankly at Lin Muyu in the air. In the next moment, they suddenly let out a hoarse and miserable howl. A gust of wind swept by, tearing the corpse slaves' bodies to pieces. They quickly condensed in the air, and became the illusion of his teacher again. This time, it was a bloody giant skeleton with a rotten smell. Ha 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 ha. His teacher's violent and unpleasant voice sounded again. Do you think you can kill me? This king can live as long as this king's primordial spirit still exists. These are just king's avatars. There are tens of thousands of rotten bones in the corpse cultivating plane. Can you kill them all? And you? There will come a time when your strength and stamina are exhausted. At that time, killing you will be as simple as crushing an ant. With that, the skeleton fiercely twisted and grinned. Next, it's my turn to attack, right? Lin Muyu held the 2 swords in her hands and stood proudly in the air. Come, let me see how great your teacher is. Ha ha ha, arrogant. In the midst of his teacher's wild laughter, the skeleton suddenly opened its bloody mouth. With a puff sound, a mass of energy containing the power of death shot out, heading straight for Lin Muyu at an astonishing speed. Lin Muyu crossed her 2 swords in front of her and activated her power. The walls of the gourd suddenly bloomed, defending. Bang! The world shook, and the light illuminated the wilderness. Lin Muyu, who was in the air, was shaken back nearly 100 meters. His arms were numb, and the power of death seemed to be eager to occupy his body, looking for a gap in his defense. Unfortunately, the defense of the walls of the gourd was perfect, and Lin Muyu had the Xianyuan sword to protect her. Boy, you really have the ability. Come again. His teacher laughed from afar. Lin Muyu frowned and shouted to activate the power in his body. Suddenly, his body was plated with a layer of golden light again, and he entered the state of a mortal golden body again. He suddenly threw out the Xianyuan sword and controlled the sword with his qi. The flames swept the long sword and opened the way in front of him. He held the Donghua sword tightly and rushed forward with dozens of elephant wheels. Boom! The skeletons crumbled upon contact, but the bones were not destroyed immediately. Instead, they entangled and devoured like ribbons. This time, your master did not sit still and wait for death. Instead, he began to counterattack. Unfortunately, this kind of counterattack could not subdue Lin Muyu. Facing the approaching dense death aura, his eyes were shining with golden cold light. He shouted, and the ripples of flames instantly broke out, blasting the fragments of the skeletons into powder. At the same time, the Donghua sword swept across with the power of the realm. Bang! His teacher's head was immediately cut in half. Swish, swish, swish. The immortal golden body quickly forced back all the dry bones. Lin Muyu stood in the night sky again, emitting golden light all over his body. He looked at his teacher's miserable appearance like a god. Huff huff. His teacher was a little embarrassed. After reassembling his body, he looked at Lin Muyu in astonishment and said, "Your armor." Lin Muyu also looked down. The robe in front of her chest had been pierced by the dry bones, revealing part of the Chiyu armor. His teacher seemed a little excited. Why is this armor in your hands? Who are you? Niwa. Fushi, what's their relationship with you? It's none of your business. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. Since you don't want to say it, then go to hell. His teacher roared angrily, and the whole body of the illusion trembled violently. In the blink of an eye, beams of blood-red cold light shot out, sweeping over like a rain of death. This attack was not so simple. Lin Muyu hurriedly activated the formless elephant spell. His two swords slashed wildly in the air. Pung, pung, pung. Streams of energy splashed out. Every slash consumed a certain amount of energy. His master's attacks were very concentrated and very sharp. Every strike was stronger than the strongest strike of Dongfeng Yan and Dongfeng Jin. Even with the immortal golden body, Lin Muyu was still in a difficult situation. Just like that, he kept retreating. When Lin Muyu blocked all the attacks from his teacher, he was already almost a mile away. In the distance, his teacher laughed loudly. It took you so long to completely resolve my simple attack. Lin Muyu, it seems that you are not as powerful as I expected. Why, don't you want to kill me? Lin Muyu held his two swords and smiled faintly. Facing a monster like his teacher, he became fearless. Kill you? Anytime. His teacher laughed loudly. Then come on. Lin Muyu smiled. Attack if you have the guts. His teacher said coldly. I will wait for you at any time. The cold wind blew, and Lin Muyu's broken cloak fluttered in the wind. He looked at his teacher with a burning gaze and said with a smile, If I'm not wrong, you can't leave the 10,000 Corpse Ridge, and you can't even leave where you are, right? You. What do you mean by that? His teacher's tone was a little mischievous, as if he had seen through his thoughts. Lin Muyu smiled very brightly. He pointed down and said, There must be something underground that you are afraid of, or that you are protecting. Otherwise, you would have chased after me to kill me, right? The killing intent in your heart can't be hidden. You are originally a bloodthirsty person. How dare you? His teacher shouted sternly. Do you think you can see through everything? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will tear you into pieces. Then come at me, Lin Muyu said proudly. You. His teacher was so angry that his voice was trembling, but he did not come over. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and suddenly dashed forward like a bolt of lightning. With a bang, her long sword once again cut through her master's body. She shouted in a low voice, I don't care what you're hiding underground, I'll blast you out. What are you going to do? His teacher's illusion was in a state of dissipation, and he could not attack for a moment. He could only look at Lin Muyu in shock. But he saw this kid suddenly raise his right arm. And suddenly, a bunch of xianqi in the starry sky flowed rapidly. The stars in the sky seemed to be summoned, getting closer and closer, turning into countless star power and smashing down. 7 glorious stars transformation. Pung pung pung. Like a disaster, the star power smashed a deep pit in the ground, turning the 10,000 Corpse Ridge into a pockmarked face. Moreover, the pit became deeper and deeper, reaching 10 meters in the blink of an eye. Don't. His teacher's voice trembled violently, almost becoming a plea. Chapter 1051. Boom boom boom. The power of the stars tore the earth apart, and in the blink of an eye, the 10,000 Corpse Ridge was about to become the 10,000 Corpse Valley. Dang. With a clear sound, Lin Muyu also noticed this strange sound, and immediately stopped the 7 luminaries' rampage. Looking around, she saw some sparkling light deep underground. What is that? He was slightly surprised, and also noticed that his master's voice had disappeared, but his aura was still there. Flying deep underground, he waved his hand, and a gust of wind blew away the sand, gradually revealing the source of the strange sound. It was a crystal stone. How could such a thing be hidden underground? Lin Muyu did not think too much about it, and continued to activate his power. The wind element divine power quickly peeled off the soil around the crystal stone, but soon found that it was not a crystal stone, but a very large crystal coffin. Lin Muyu was very surprised, and flew to the lid of the coffin, and reached out to wipe it clean. Through the crystal, he could see that there was something glowing inside the coffin. It was this thing that was glowing. Open. He quickly opened the lid of the coffin, but he didn't smell anything rotten. Instead, he saw a set of clothes, a very dignified helmet, and a unique longsword next to it. There was a red snake engraved around the blade of the sword, and it looked ferocious. Next to the helmet, there was a sparkling and translucent gem, which was filled with a strong aura of death. Lin Muyu reached out, and could even feel the faint anger and killing intent from the gemstone, just like his master's aura. Suddenly, Lin Muyu understood. So his master was transformed from this gemstone. The power of a gemstone could actually transform into his master, and control the entire corpse nurturing plane. It was really not simple. However, what made his heart at a loss was that his master had disappeared, and so had the antidote. After all, this trip to the corpse nurturing plane was to find the antidote for Qinin. What should I do? He could not help but sweat on his forehead. At this moment, under the light of the gemstone, some small characters appeared on the side wall of the coffin. Looking closely, they were written in Xiaozhuan script. Fortunately, he could understand them. The war god of the Juli tribe, Qiyu's memorial tablet. When the god died, his qi turned into 3 strands. One escaped into the sky, the second fell into the ground, and the third turned into a star. The descendants of the Juli tribe buried their ancestor god in a cenotaph. They used the god's soaring dragon sword, the ox head helmet, and the star stone as sacrifices. They hoped that when the later generations opened the coffin, they would have to kowtow and be cautious. Is this the cenotaph of demon god Qiyu? Lin Muyu was astonished. Could it be that the star stone in her hand was one of the incarnations of Qiyu? According to the contents of the eulogy, after Qiyu died, he split into 3 parts. One went to the human realm upon heavens, one went to the underworld, and the last turned into a gemstone. This stone was in her hand. Moreover, her master was a part of the spirit of the legendary demon Qiyu. For a moment, Lin Muyu couldn't accept it. She actually had a great battle with Qiyu. It was hard to imagine. No wonder her master could recognize Qiyu's armor. How could he not recognize his own treasure? Master, are you still there? Lin Muyu wiped the gemstone. But there was no response. The star stone shone brightly, but it seemed that the spirit of Qiyu had been destroyed by the 7 luminaries. At this moment, only a part of the fierce divine power was left in the gemstone. What should I do? He sat down in the coffin, his face blank. The antidote seemed to have disappeared. He picked up the soaring snake sword. This sword of Qiyu was actually not very strong. At most, it looked like a subdivine weapon. It was far inferior to the Xianyuan sword. No wonder Qiyu couldn't defeat Xianyuan in the past. No. Something must be wrong. Suddenly, Lin Muyu smelled some faint fragrance. It was a smell that he had never smelled before. He frowned and followed the fragrance. He found that it was a snow-white Ganoderma that grew from the inside of the coffin lid. It was crystal clear like jade. It was a treasure at first glance. But it didn't make sense for it to grow in the coffin. It was too evil. Since ancient times, in the legends about yin and yang, the Ganoderma that grew in the coffin had a name. It was called corpse fungus. It was also known as the mouth fungus. As the name suggested, it was a Ganoderma that grew directly in the mouth of a corpse. It absorbed the blood essence of the dead, and could be used as medicine. But the Ganoderma in front of him was definitely not a corpse fungus. There was no corpse in the coffin. This was just a cenotaph. He took out a small magic knife, and carefully plucked the Ganoderma. At the moment when he plucked it, a beam of golden light suddenly shone on the side of the coffin. It quickly transformed into a beautiful figure. It was Xiao. She had launched the oracle. Big sister Xiao, you also came to the 64 domains? Lin Muyu happily asked as she sat beside the coffin. Xiao nodded. I was worried about Xiaoyin, so I personally came. But I am still in Dragon City. Did you find the antidote? No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "The master of the corpse nurturing steps was formed from a star stone. The star stone was formed from one of the 3 souls of Chiyu after his death. It was filled with deep resentment. Look behind me, that is Chiyu's cenotaph." "Oh, what is that in your hand?" Xiao quickly noticed the Ganoderma. Lin Muyu said, "The Ganoderma that grew in Chiyu's cenotaph shouldn't be a corpse fungus, right?" "A Ganoderma that grew in a cenotaph?" Xiao raised her eyebrows and said in surprise, "Great, Xiaoyin can be saved." "You mean this Ganoderma can save Xiaoyin?" "That's right." Xiao was in high spirits. Since ancient times, there has been Qian Kuan, yin and yang. And yin and yang are mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. That is to say, things of extreme yang and things of extreme yin often coexist together. Since Dongfang Yan's power of death comes from Chiyu's evil, then this Ganoderma is the spiritual herb that guards Chiyu's soul. It is the brightest and most holy thing in the world. Hurry and bring the Ganoderma back. This Ganoderma can definitely detoxify Xiaoyin. Xiaoyin can be saved. Good, that's great. Lin Muyu put the Ganoderma, the ox helmet, and the flying serpent sword into her Qianquan bag. She could go now. She had stayed enough in this corpse nurturing steps. However, when Lin Muyu turned around and left, she suddenly hit something with a clang. She reached out and touched it, but there was nothing there. What's going on? She sensed the surrounding magnetic field and 4-dimensional space, but there seemed to be nothing strange. It was really strange. She flew up and went straight to the north, which was the direction of Dragon City. In the sky, with the disappearance of her master and the disappearance of the death-flying fire, it became a safe area. She just needed to avoid the windsaw. Looking down at the ground, under the moonlight, the corpse cave basin appeared in her field of vision. She hoped that General Hua could have a good ending there. She would not give him the Donghua sword. It would be a waste. Thinking that the Ganoderma could save Qin Yin, Lin Muyu couldn't help but be complacent, and she accelerated her flight. However, after flying for nearly 10 minutes, there was still darkness and confusion in front of her. Suddenly, her field of vision became clear, and a huge basin appeared in front of her. The corpse cave basin. Lin Muyu was stunned. Hadn't she flown over the corpse cave basin? That's not right. I've been flying in the same direction. What's going on? The spirit pulse technique quickly spread out to investigate the situation in the surrounding area. There was nothing wrong with it. Forget it. She continued to fly. However, after flying for nearly 10 minutes, she arrived at the corpse cave basin again. In an instant, Lin Muyu felt a chill down her spine, and a horrible word appeared in her heart. Ghost hitting the wall. But she was a god. What ghost dared to mess with her like this? Moreover, she had even killed her way in and out of the ghost realm, so what was ghost hitting the wall? Could it be that she had entered an illusion? Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel confused. She landed quickly and shouted in a low voice, "General Hua, come out!" After a long time, there was no trace of General Hua. Lin Muyu frowned. At this time, there was finally a trace of disturbance in the spirit pulse technique. It was the disturbance of the magnetic field. Something was playing tricks, and it was underground. Clang. She pulled out the long sword and resolutely slashed at the ground, bringing along Lin Muyu's body as she rushed down. The blade opened up a path, and streaks of fire flew past. Just as Lin Muyu forcefully slashed open a layer of enchantment, she suddenly changed from diving down to attacking upwards. Pung. A ripple spread out behind her, and her eyes suddenly lit up. She had already appeared in another world. Behind her was not corpse-nurturing plains, but a lush forest that extended far into the distance, as far as the eye could see. What's going on? Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. Law of yin and yang? It seemed like she had already entered a completely unknown space. Furthermore, she felt that someone was luring her to this strange plane. She didn't know where the way back was. Lin Muyu's hair stood on end. Her attainment in the law of space was far inferior to those who specialized in the law of space. It seemed like she had fallen into someone else's trap. She flew straight into the sky until she entered the clouds. Looking into the distance, there were still layers of forest 100 miles away. There wasn't a trace of human habitation. What kind of situation was this? Was she unable to get out? Big Sister Xiao. He stood in the sky and used his spiritual perception to search for Xiao's aura. However, it was a blank field. He couldn't sense Xiao's power at all. It was as though this place was isolated from the world. It was even more desolate and remote than the 64 domains. Lin Muyu gathered her god power and shouted, "Who is it? Who is luring me here? Come out. Are you afraid to show yourself?" The wind was silent. However, there were two indistinct dragons roaming in the clouds in the distance. She had to capture these two divine dragons first. Lin Muyu left with the wind. At this moment, in the corpse cave in the basin of the corpse cave, General Hua looked at Lin Muyu from afar, who had sunk into the ground. He was trembling all over and muttered to himself, "Those old monsters have finally come out. It seems that Lin Muyu has really stirred up a hornet's nest. The dreamland of the witches is a place that even the gods are unwilling to go to. That brat is definitely dead. My Donghua sword is also gone." Chapter 1052. Clouds and mist lingered, and two dragons were faintly discernible in the white clouds. They were white dragons, a species completely different from Acatosaurus. White dragons were one of the ancient dragon species. Lin Muyu had seen white dragons in the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts when she was in the Shattered Cauldron realm. However, white dragons lived for tens of thousands of years, and their strength was not ordinary. So no one in the Shattered Cauldron realm had seen them with their own eyes. Now, these two white dragons were meandering between the clouds and mist, playing as usual. As they swam, their hair swayed, giving off an unassailable aura. Swoosh! Lin Muyu's figure shot into the sky like a sharp arrow, quickly attracting the attention of the two white dragons. Roar, roar! After two dragon roars, the white dragons quickly twisted their bodies and rushed over. Without saying much, they opened their mouths and spat two balls of scorching dragon breath at Lin Muyu. The dragon breath contained pure dragon power, and it was not an ordinary kind of fierce. F***ck. Lin Muyu hurriedly stepped on the void, and a wave of light splashed out. She used the rebound force from stepping on the plane's wall to forcefully dodge to the side. She saw that the space where she was just now was distorted, like a fiery red barbed wire that had been burned. The white dragon's dragon breath was actually hot enough to destroy the plane. She quickly moved, using the falling star step. Lin Muyu's speed was faster than the white dragon's, and she suddenly came to the right side of one of the white dragons. She waved her iron fist, and with the chaos of the common life, she punched it. Bang! The fist landed on the dragon's scales, and a heavy rebound force came. But the white dragon only felt pain, and it was not injured. It roared angrily and whipped its tail. Lin Muyu quickly raised her left arm to condense the wall of the gourd. Suddenly, with a pung sound, she was whipped across the air for hundreds of meters. Her blood flow was slightly chaotic, and she could not help but be shocked. These white dragons were really not ordinary. Seeing that its companion was attacked, the other white dragon was furious. It let out a loud dragon roar, and at the same time, it twisted its body and rushed over at lightning speed. Around its body, lightning struck randomly, and its momentum was shocking. "Heaven and earth heed my command," Lin Muyu shouted, and condensed an elephant invisible domain around her to protect herself from the corrosion of the lightning. For a moment, countless lightning bolts fell on the golden barrier around her and danced chaotically. It was extremely dazzling. The white dragon's attacks were very varied. Before the lightning disappeared, hundreds of icicles pierced towards him. It seemed that the two white dragons were ready to kill. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth, raised her fists, and quickly threw out dozens of punches. Immediately, waves of fist energy exploded in the air, blocking all of the icicles. Roar, roar, roar! Seeing that their attacks were ineffective, the two white dragons seemed to be even more enraged. They twisted their bodies and rushed over, quickly lingering around Lin Muyu. Swirling airwaves attacked her, making it impossible for her to defend against them. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu was in great pain. She was in the center, as if she was standing in the middle of a flaming wheel. She was surrounded by impeccable defenses, and the surrounding temperature was frighteningly high. This white dragon had gone too far. Dang dang. With both swords unsheathed, Lin Muyu shouted and slashed around 7 or 8 times with the long swords. Suddenly, with a puff, puff, puff sound, red blood flowed out of the white dragon's body, and dragon scales flew up. Even though they were sacred beasts, they could not withstand the slashes of the Xianyuan sword. After all, the sharpness of a first-class artifact was not fake. Roar, roar. The 2 white dragons twisted their bodies and fled, and the surrounding clouds became denser. The white dragons were the only clue here. If Lin Muyu wanted to go out, he had to catch these white dragons. He did not want to give up such an opportunity, so he immediately jumped up and chased the white dragons in the sky. Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, a sweet bell came from the sky, as if the sound from the celestial world was moving. Lin Muyu could not help but stand in the air with both swords in her hands, looking straight at the clouds in front of her. There a powerful aura was approaching. Roar, roar. It was still the white dragons. 2 white dragons flew out of the clouds, with something like a golden saddle around their necks. They had become tame, and as they swam, they dragged a carriage floating in the air behind them. However, this carriage did not have wheels, as if it was born to fly in the air. The carriage was extremely exquisite, with a bunch of pendants swaying around it, making a sweet bell sound. The surroundings were decorated with bright gems, mysterious and extremely luxurious. In the carriage, a middle-aged man in a green robe was sitting. He had delicate features and a handsome appearance. Presumably, when he was young, he must have been an evildoer who charmed thousands of girls. His eyes flashed as he looked at Lin Muyu from afar and said with a smile, "Little friend, where are you from?" Lin Muyu did not know the origin of this person, but felt that his aura was very strong. At least, he was an expert of the great perfection realm. He sheathed his sword, cupped his fists and said respectfully, "My name is Lin Muyu, from the broken cauldron world among the thousands of stars. I am one of the gods of the Eastern Heaven realm. I came to the 64 domains to cultivate. In order to save my beloved, I entered the corpse cultivation field to find a way to cure the poison. After defeating your master, I don't know why I was suddenly sent here. The plain outside is chaotic. I think there must be an expert who deliberately led me here. Senior, it can't be you, right?" "Me." The green-robed expert could not help but laugh. He stroked his beard and said, "I am not good at this kind of yin and yang illusion, but, young hero, did you really defeat your master?" "It's not really a defeat, but your master suddenly disappeared." "Oh." The green-robed expert smiled faintly and said, "I see, no wonder that old guy would lead you here. It's rare. There is actually someone in the secret realm who can defeat your master. It's really rare." "Senior, do you also hate your master?" "Oh, of course not. Ha ha ha, I don't hate your master. On the contrary, I'm just a servant of your master. However, I still want to thank you for holding back when you attacked the white dragon just now. You didn't use the Xianyuan sword earlier. Otherwise, I'm afraid the lives of Big White and Little White would not be safe." The 2 white dragons raised their heads and roared as if they were also grateful. Lin Muyu was stunned and said respectfully, "Senior, you don't have to thank me. The white dragon is a holy beast. I won't kill it unless it's a last resort." "That's good." The green-robed expert slowly stood up and smiled. "Young hero, do you know why you were led here?" "I don't know. It's to kill you. You have angered the spiritual thought of ancestor God Chiyu. Even if I don't kill you, the other guardians of the ancestral sorcery realm will still kill you. So, young hero, think about what last words you have. I'm willing to pass these last words to your friend." Lin Muyu immediately became alert. She swung her swords and a huge taishu appeared under her feet. She said, "Who are you?" The green-robed expert looked at the taishu condensed by Lin Muyu, and did not hide the admiration in his eyes. He smiled and said, "I'm Gomong, one of the 12 ancestral sorcery under ancestor god Chiyu. I'm in charge of all the trees in the world. The endless sea of trees in front of you is my masterpiece. If you want to get out of the ancestral sorcery realm, then you have to defeat me, Gomong." Gomong. Lin Muyu could not help but be stunned. This was a legendary person. Speaking of which, he could be regarded as the ancestor of the descendants of Yan and Huang. Now she actually saw him alive. According to Fushi's age in samsara, Gomang should be at least tens of thousands of years old. But he looks so handsome and elegant. Young hero, what's wrong? Gomang smiled and said. Lin Muyu said, to tell you the truth, I come from a star area in the East Heaven realm. In the ancient legend, there was a battle between Emperor Huang, Emperor Yan and Qiyu. Among them, you are one of the 12 ancestral sorcery of Qiyu. Oh. Gomang was a little surprised. So you come from the future. No wonder you have the Xianyuan sword and got part of Fushi's inheritance. Haha, it's also fate. But, even if you are the descendant of the former deities, you still have to pass through the ancestral sorcery realm. Otherwise, I can't explain to the other 3 ancestral sorcery realm. Do we have to fight? Lin Muyu took a deep breath. It seemed that her diplomacy had failed. Gomang nodded and smiled. We have to fight. Ancestral god Qiyu's subordinates were killed one by one. That idiot Gong Gong hit his head against the mountain and died. Zhu Rong's whereabouts are unknown. And Xing Tian has been beheaded. Now there are only 4 ancestral sorcery left guarding ancestral god Qiyu's spiritual sense. Since you have angered ancestral god Qiyu, Gomang can't just stand by and watch. This is my mission and responsibility. But, as long as you defeat me, Gomang will definitely not harm you. Lin Muyu sighed. Since you insist on fighting, then let's fight. Where shall we fight? Anytime, anywhere. Gomang smiled and said. This endless forest is my territory. Young hero, you can fight however you want. You can give it your all. Okay. Lin Muyu nodded. But I have a request. Before we fight, let me finish something first. Oh. Don't worry, young hero. Gomang smiled warmly. Lin Muyu stepped lightly on the void. Suddenly, a 6-pointed star appeared and rose under his feet. The power from the different dimension rippled. He called out softly, Acatosaurus, come out. I have something for you to do. Roar. From the 6-pointed star, a red gold divine dragon slithered out. The power of the Dragon King quickly spread out. Even Gomang's 2 white dragons seemed restless. They showed respect from afar. Obviously, Acatosaurus's dragon rank was much higher than the white dragons. Roar. Acatosaurus's big head arched on Lin Muyu's shoulder. It seemed to be acting coquettishly. At the same time, it found that a strong enemy was in front of it, and was very worried about its master's safety. Lin Muyu took out the Ganoderma from the Qiankuan bag and said, Come, keep it in your mouth. Don't eat it. Go back to the different dimension immediately, and then find Xiaoyin. Give this Ganoderma to Xiyan. It can save Xiaoyin's life. Roar. Acatosaurus blinked and looked at its master reluctantly. Lin Muyu stroked its head and said, If I can't go back, you have to protect Xiaoyin and Xiaoxi on my behalf. They like you as much as I do. Do you understand? Acatosaurus's body was wriggling, surrounded by clouds and mist. Its body trembled slightly, and its big eyes were covered with a layer of tears. It was connected to Lin Muyu's soul, and knew Lin Muyu's state of mind. Once he entered the ancestral wizard's dreamland, a strong opponent would probably make it impossible for him to go back. Acatosaurus could enter the different dimension, but Lin Muyu could not. After all, humans and dragons had different paths. Go quickly, don't delay. Lin Muyu's voice was a little more serious. Acatosaurus looked at him reluctantly again. Finally, it plunged into the 6-pointed star and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1053. Gomang watched Lin Muyu bid farewell to Acatosaurus from afar. He could not help but be slightly moved. After Acatosaurus entered the alternate dimension, Gomang said softly, Young hero, you are a person who values friendship and righteousness. Unfortunately, you are different from me, Gomang. But don't worry, as long as you can defeat me, I, Gomang, am willing to protect your life in front of the other 3 ancestors of sorcery. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, Thank you, senior. Then please enlighten me. All right. Gomang flew up from the carriage. He spread his arms and thousands of wings appeared on his back. A bright glazed saber appeared in his hand. It was the legendary Gomang saber. Waves of mighty power spread rapidly. as if it could devour everything. Even Lin Muyu felt very uncomfortable. She had to use the shapeless elephant spell to resist it. According to the legend, Gomang was an ancestor of sorcery with a bird's body and a human's face. Now it seemed that the legend was true. Perhaps Gomang had evolved from the cultivation of birds. But he was also the ancestor of birds. Young hero, are you ready? Gomang smiled faintly. Thank you, senior. Then take this. Gomang screamed. Gomang's saber emitted a green light that soared into the sky. Suddenly, the entire forest on the ground trembled. Beams of green energy quickly gathered on Gomang's saber. Gomang was the ancestor of sorcery of wood, and would belong to the law of life. In an instant, the power of the forest on the ground had already gathered on the saber. This attack was similar to the formless elephant secret art's ability to borrow momentum. Here it comes. Gomang's attack was not to be underestimated. Lin Muyu hurriedly raised her divine power to its peak state in an instant, and activated the invisible elephant spell. Borrowing the power of the earth and the mountains, the Xianyuan sword glowed with a dazzling light and slashed forward. For a moment, the air was full of illusions. Gomang's saber was surrounded by forests and wooden stakes, while the Xianyuan sword was surrounded by sharp mountains. Boom! They collided with each other. The mountains shook and the forests broke. Green and yellow light splashed and separated. Under the shock, the two quickly retreated. Buzz! The shockwave formed by the quake swept across the land, uprooting countless trees. It was as if a gale had swept across the grassland, and a tsunami had flattened the land. Gomang smiled slightly. He still maintained his elegant posture in the wind. He slowly raised his saber again and said with a smile, "Young hero, you are very powerful. Come, my second attack. Young hero, you have to be more careful." In an instant, the wind around Gomang was raging. This time it was not only the power of wood, but also the power of wind. In the blink of an eye, a huge storm formed behind him, devouring the sky and earth. It was extremely terrifying. Even the two white dragons pulled the chariot far away. Lin Muyu looked at her opponent coldly. The power gathered by Gomang had surpassed her. After all, she had just defeated Dongfangjin and Qiyu not long ago. Her power had not been fully restored. Now she only had 70% of her divine power. If they really fought, she might not be Gomang's opponent. However, the arrow on the bow had to be fired, so she had to bite the bullet and attack. The Xianyuan sword trembled, and the elephant wheel tower in the Sea of Will roared and rotated. The next moment, countless elephant wheels gathered around him. The golden light made him look like a celestial being. The air was filled with the buzzing sound of the domain force field. At the same time that Gomang slashed with his saber, Lin Muyu also waved an earth-shattering sword. 1,000 elephants of destruction. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions bloomed in the air, but the power of 1,000 elephants of destruction was obviously not enough to fight against Gomang. It shattered one after another. Streams of sharp wind blades whirled and quickly cut the wall of the gourd that Lin Muyu hastily condensed. She couldn't block it anymore. The self-protection ability in her body was instantly awakened. The golden light almost instantly played around Lin Muyu. It took less than half a second to enter the state of immortal golden body. With the continuation of the power, Lin Muyu rushed forward to meet force with force. She swung the Xianyuan sword and slashed hard on Gomang's saber. Clang! Sparks flew. The two artifacts finally collided directly. There was a numbing feeling in her arm. Gomang's strength really couldn't be underestimated. At the same time, Gomang was also secretly shocked. This kid had brought him too many surprises. Not to mention that he could use superior martial arts. This kid had also comprehended the legendary immortal golden body. This was an ability that even the ancestral gods didn't have. Moreover, the collision with the Xianyuan sword had already made Gomang's arms seem to have frozen. Clang, clang, clang. In the air, the weapons collided dozens of times in a row. They were all fierce attacks from Lin Muyu, which actually made Gomang retreat nearly a mile away. But at this time, Lin Muyu's arms were exhausted. Gomang laughed heartily. The saber spun rapidly. He began to counterattack. Lin Muyu blocked and retreated at the same time, looking quite embarrassed. As a result, Gomang attacked nearly 100 times in a row, but none of his attacks could get close to Lin Muyu. This kid's defense was almost perfect, and his combat skills were even more extraordinary. Young hero, take another move from me. Gomang suddenly jumped up. The saber was surrounded by a green dragon constellation, and he slashed down with great momentum. Lin Muyu complained incessantly. The divine power in her body was already exhausted. She could only defend, and it was a 1 against 10 defense. The tip of her feet landed lightly on the wall of space, as if she was stepping on flat ground. She drew a circle with her arms, and a huge Taishu avatar appeared under her feet. This time, she could only rely on diverting the force. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't be able to take this attack from Gomang. Wang. The saber fell straight down. Lin Muyu's sword touched it lightly. Suddenly, a strong suction force pulled Gomang's saber into the Taishu avatar. Below the Taishu avatar was the ground. With a loud bang, dozens of green dragon energy rushed into the ground. The rumbling sounds were continuous, and the forest within 10 miles was completely destroyed. It was extremely terrifying. Pooh! The aftershock of this attack caused Lin Muyu to spit out a mouthful of blood. And just as she passed by Gomang, her left hand moved to her waist, and the little devil sonar saber slashed towards Gomang's neck. Ah! Gomang was shocked. However, Lin Muyu's saber didn't slash down. Instead, it brushed past Gomang's shoulder armor, and a kung sound could be heard, and Gomang would have been injured by it. Wang. The saber energy spun around, and Gomang's saber was directly pressed against Lin Muyu's chest. However, Gomang didn't continue to advance. Instead, he lowered his hand, and the saber turned into scattered light beams that entered his body. He laughed loudly and said, I've lost. Young hero, you're truly capable. Lin Muyu was stunned. Senior, I've clearly lost. No. Gomang's eyes were like torches as he said, Young hero, you fought countless masters in the corpse-nurturing plane. When you entered the ancestral witch's dreamland, your strength was reduced to half. Young hero, you don't have to tell me, but I know that if you were to fight me with your full strength, I'm afraid that Gomang would have been defeated. Lin Muyu was very grateful. Gomang had tyrannical strength, but he was very humble and righteous. It was hard to imagine that such a person was actually a subordinate of Chiyu. Gomang seemed to have seen through Lin Muyu's thoughts. He couldn't help but laugh and said, Ancestral God Chiyu isn't as bad as you think. Ancestral God smelted weapons and farm tools in the past, and created an achievement that was worshipped by the people of the world. It's just that he was defeated in the war later. However, no one can erase the achievements of Ancestral God in the world. Lin Muyu nodded. Yes, I can understand. Gomang turned around and looked into the distance. He took a deep breath and said, Young hero, find a place to rest and recover your strength. I'm afraid that someone will come in less than half a day. But don't worry, as long as I, Gomang, am here, no one can harm your life. Alright, thank you, senior. Lin Muyu and Gomang sat on the ground beside a stream between the mountains. They took out some dry rations, flatbread, and beef jerky from their cosmos bags and ate with the stream water. Meanwhile, Gomang sat there alone as if he didn't eat the food of the world. Senior, can I ask you a question? Lin Muyu said. Young hero, do you want to ask me who the other 3 ancestral witches are? Senior, you know all of them? Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed. Gomang seemed to be able to see through people's minds. Gomang stroked his beard and said with a smile with bright eyes, There are only 4 ancestral witches in the ancestral witch's dreamland. I'm one of them. The others are the ancestral witches of time, Dijiang, the ancestral witches of lightning, Changliang, and the ancestral witches of technique, Candle Dragon. Dijiang is good at controlling time, and Changliang is the ancestor of lightning. As for Candle Dragon, he's also known as Candle Dragon, and he's good at yin and yang illusory spells. This ancestral witch's dreamland was created by him to protect the star stone of ancestral god Chiyu. As he spoke, Gomang squinted his eyes and said, Young hero, I'm the weakest among the 4 ancestral witches. You must recover your strength quickly. The other 3 ancestral witches will definitely challenge you one by one. Only by winning all of them can you leave the ancestral witch's dreamland. Otherwise, with Candle Dragon's personality, I'm afraid he won't let you leave alive." His words made Lin Muyu's heart tremble. Gomang was the weakest among them, but he was already so strong. Wouldn't the others be extremely strong? She stopped talking and ate the flatbread. She must go back alive and see Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi. Otherwise, it would be too irresponsible. Dragon City, in a room of the side palace. Ma Qilin, Feng Zhanlin, and others were restless. Tang Xiaoxi was pacing back and forth in the room, her beautiful face full of worry. She said, "Sister Xiao, even you can't see where Mu is?" "Yes," Xiao said. "You has entered a strange space. I can't feel his aura at all. Even North Tianluan can't find his position." "Strange space? What is that?" "Dreamland. It can only be a dreamland." Xiao pondered and did not say anything. At this moment, there was a sudden flash of lightning, and a Catasaurus appeared from the strange space in the blink of an eye. "It's Mu's little apple." Tang Xiaoxi stepped forward and hugged a Catasaurus's big head. A Catasaurus struggled to open its mouth, revealing the glowing Ganoderma. Xiao was overjoyed. "Great, you is so smart. He knows to let this dragon send the antidote back. Xiao Yin can be saved." Chapter 1054. The stream murmured, and the forest was very quiet. This forest had been destroyed in the battle, but Gomang had secretly restored it to its original state. Just like the legends said, Gomang was the wood ancestor wizard. In terms of plants, he should be omnipotent. Lin Muyu sat cross-legged under a tree, eyes closed, while the two white dragons lay not far away, guarding their master Gomang. Hiss! Bundles of gourd vines extended from Lin Muyu's arms, and the god-binding chains circled around her. Faint light shone as they absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish their owner's divine energy. It was a spectacular sight to behold. Gomang was making a flute with a knife, repeatedly carving and grinding it. When he looked at Lin Muyu, he couldn't help but be slightly surprised. "Young hero, is this the legendary martial soul?" "Yes, senior. But I remember, there are no martial souls in our dimension." "Oh, it's like this." Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. "Although I was born on Earth, I traveled through space and went to the Shattered Cauldron realm a dozen years ago. This martial soul was also obtained in the Shattered Cauldron realm." "Shattered Cauldron realm. Senior, have you heard of this dimension?" "I've heard of it." Zhu Meng took a deep breath. "The boundless world is full of wonders. The Shattered Cauldron realm nurtured a group of people who were born with martial souls. The desolate barbaric world nurtured a group of martial artists who were born with divine strength, and the undying world nurtured a group of people who could never die. Everyone cultivated to ascend, and all of them reached the same destination. In the end, they would all enter the god realm and become a god." "Young hero, have you already become a god in the Eastern Celestial Court?" "Yes, my name is on the Divine Book, and I was given the title of Marshal of the Left Army." "That's disrespectful of me." Gomang couldn't help but smile. Lin Muyu also smiled. "There's no need to be disrespectful. With senior's cultivation, if you go to the god realm, I think you'll at least be able to get the position of a commander, right?" Gomang waved his hand. "It's been so many years, and I've long been tired of fighting and killing. That's why I've been cultivating in the ancestral sorcerer's illusory realm, ignoring the world. If you hadn't entered the illusory realm, I probably wouldn't have fought with anyone for almost 1,000 years." As he spoke, Gomang continued, "Young hero, is the star stone left behind by ancestor god Qiyu with you?" "Star stone?" Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, I do have it. May I have a look?" Gomang was an upright person, so Lin Muyu wasn't afraid that he would rob her. She immediately took out the star stone from her Qiankuan pouch. She saw that the stone was surrounded by a blood-red radiance. It was incomparably bright, and a mighty power immediately surged out from the star stone. "Ancestor God. Ancestor God above." Gomang immediately prostrated himself on the ground. He knelt there respectfully, and his entire body was trembling. Lin Muyu was a little stunned. The 12 ancestral sorcerers were actually so respectful to Qiyu's star stone? No, it didn't look like they were respectful, but more like they were in awe. Qiyu must have been very violent when he was alive, and the 12 ancestral sorcerers' reverence for him was almost deep in their bones. Lin Muyu immediately kept the star stone and said, "Senior, please get up. Qiyu is long dead. Why do you have to do this?" Gomang stood up slowly and said, "Young hero, if Zhu Long and Dijiang come, you must not let them see this star stone. If they see it, I'm afraid it'll be bad." "Why do you say that?" "Ancestor God Qiyu once left a will. The 12 ancestral sorcerers are guarding the star stone, but they can't touch it unless someone expels the ancestor god's power from the star stone. Once it's expelled, the one who obtains the star stone will be the leader of the ancestral sorcerers. He can command the other ancestral sorcerers, as well as the remaining troops that Ancestor Qiyu left in the 3 realms." Gomang said worriedly, "Zhu Long is an extreme person. He's cruel, vicious, and ambitious. If he knows that the star stone is in your hands, he'll definitely kill you. So, don't let Zhu Long know that you have the star stone." "Yes, I understand. Thank you for the reminder, Senior." Lin Muyu thought about it and said, "Since there are only 4 ancestral sorcerers left in the world, what can they do even if they command the rest of the ancestral sorcerers? Do you think they can turn the world upside down?" Gomang couldn't help but laugh. "Young hero, you might not know this, but this star stone is also known as the Qiyu stone. It's a precious gem left behind by the ancestor god. The existence of the Qiyu stone is not only to command the 12 ancestral sorcerers, but also the 8,000 celestial army, and the 30,000 Gong Gong navy left behind by Xing Tian after the War of the Gods. These troops have been hidden and sealed. Only the Qiyu stone can find them and command them. Once you get your hands on this army, do you think you can stir up a storm in the realm of the gods?" Lin Muyu's heart trembled. "This Qiyu stone is so powerful." "Yes," Gomang said. "Young hero, you are still unwilling to kill the big and small white dragons after entering the illusion, which shows your kindness. I can rest assured that the Qiyu stone is in your hands, but once it falls into the hands of Zhu Long and Di Jiang, I'm afraid the world will be in chaos again. But don't worry, I, Gomang, will protect your life even if I have to risk my life. I will also help you find the ancestor god Qiyu's army. I just don't know what you plan to do with this army." Lin Muyu's eyes were burning. "If I can really get my hands on this army, I will naturally pacify the war in the Shattered Cauldron realm first, then maintain the order of the realm of the gods, and stop the war with war." "Ha ha." Gomang suddenly laughed out loud. "What are you laughing at, Senior? If young hero said that you want to hide this army and let the world be safe, I would think that young hero is a hypocritical and pretentious person. However, young hero actually said that you want to use this army to stop the war. This is exactly what I want. The world needs a king. Only a king can rule the world and bring peace to the world. So Senior is willing to help me." Gomang raised his head. "Since you obtained the Qiyu stone and expelled the ancestor god Qiyu's ferocious soul, it is fate. You are a fated person, so Gomang is naturally willing to serve you. I destroyed the soul that Qiyu left in the star stone. Don't you hate me?" "Hate? Not really. So many years have passed, and the ancestor god Qiyu's resentment still hasn't been eliminated. He is too obsessed with revenge, and if he is really allowed to succeed, the world will be in chaos again. Instead of that, it is better to let a benevolent person like you control the Qiyu stone." Lin Muyu nodded, gratified. "Yes, that's great." At this moment, night fell. Rain fell everywhere in the forest, and there was a hissing sound. Suddenly, a gloomy voice came from the top of a mountain not far away. "Are you having a good chat?" Lin Muyu and Gomang trembled. This voice was gloomy and strange, making them feel indescribably uncomfortable. The two of them looked over and saw a man sitting on a boulder on the hillside. He had a ferocious expression and a long face. His body was like that of a python, and he would occasionally spit out a bloody tongue from his mouth. His eyes were grayish gold, and he would send a chill down the spine of anyone who looked at him. "Don't look at Zhu Long's eyes," Gomang said in a low voice. "He is good at illusion. Once you look into his eyes, you will quickly fall into the illusion he created. And when that happens, I'm afraid you will be doomed eternally." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded gently. At this moment, Zhu Long had already twisted his body and soared into the sky. He looked down at the two arrogantly from the sky and said, "Gomang, as one of the 4 great ancestral sorcerers, why are you mingling with this unfamiliar kid? Have you forgotten the ancestral god's last words? Kill him. All intruders who enter the corpse-nurturing plains must die." Gomang smiled faintly. "I've tried, but unfortunately, I'm not this young hero's match. According to the rules left behind by the ancestor god. Since I'm not his match, I shouldn't be entangled with him." "What? You are actually no match for this kid?" Zhu Long gently waved his arms, each holding a thin sword, and said with a smile, "Even Gomang was defeated by you. No wonder you can force your way into the corpse-nurturing plains and make the ancestral god's overlord soul disappear. It seems the Chiyu stone is also in your hands." Lin Muyu looked at him indifferently and said with a smile, "That's right, the Chiyu stone is indeed in my hands." "What, the Chiyu stone is really in your hands?" Zhu Long's expression became very wild, and he said with a smile, "This is the will of the heavens. A lowly god like you is not worthy of the Chiyu stone. Come fight me." Lin Muyu said with a smile, "Why don't we make a bet?" "What kind of bet?" "If you win, the Chiyu stone will belong to you, but if you lose, you must swear loyalty to me." Zhu Long was a cruel and ruthless god. If she did not subdue him with this kind of bet, there was no way to deal with him. This was also the only way Lin Muyu could think of. Who would have thought that in the air, Zhu Long would hold his belly and burst into laughter. You are just a nameless boy who broke into the corpse cultivation ground. Why should I swear loyalty to you? Are you worthy?" Lin Muyu did not say a word, but a layer of golden light quickly played at his eyes. With a sudden shout, he increased the divine power in his body, and in an instant he had reached 100% of his power. The 4th layer of the invisible elephant spell spread out rapidly, forming golden shockwaves on the ground for miles. He stood on the ground like a god of war, and the Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly, showing his majesty. At this moment, he had a majestic aura, and he had the demeanor of the king of gods. Looking at Zhu Long with an indifferent gaze, Lin Muyu said indifferently, "Do you think I am not worthy?" Zhu Long remained silent for a few seconds. The aura that Lin Muyu displayed was just too powerful. It even made Zhu Long feel a sense of submission for no reason. After nearly a day's rest, Lin Muyu's divine power had completely recovered, and he had the power to fight Zhu Long. So he had nothing to fear. Fight and live, fear and death. Zhu Long was not a pushover, and naturally, neither was Lin Muyu. Chapter 1055. "Okay, I agree to this bet." The torch dragon suddenly laughed. "Interesting. Do you think you can beat me just because you beat Gomang?" "We'll know after we fight." Lin Muyu's tone was calm. This calmness made the torch dragon even angrier. He waved his swords and said, "Come on, Gomang. Get away from me. Don't get hurt by my sword chi." Gomang held his saber and said calmly, "Don't worry. I'm not that weak, and you're not that strong. Torch dragon, remember to leave some leeway. Don't push things too far." "Humph, it's none of your business." Rustle, 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 fine sand flowed on the two swords. The torch dragon attacked like lightning, and the blade split the wall of space. It was so fast that no one could react. This was not a normal speed. It was a speed that accelerated time. Lin Muyu frowned. She stepped on the void, and her aura instantly became unfathomable. The domain of the invisible elephant shrank rapidly, until it was only 2 or 3 steps away. It was in this distance that Lin Muyu's absolute domain was formed. In this small domain, any acceleration or delay of time would be ineffective, but the time left for Lin Muyu to react would also become very little. Clang! The Xianyuan sword collided with the opponent's thin sword, and a mighty divine power was transmitted. There were actually 97 waves of divine power. This torch dragon was really strong. Gomang was only at the 96th layer of heaven. Although the level of the grotto heaven did not mean absolute strength, it at least meant that the torch dragon's cultivation was no lower than Gomang's. Not bad. The torch dragon grinned, and the blade once again launched rapid attacks from different angles. Moreover, Each sword had the acceleration effect of the sand of time. It was simply impossible to guard against. There were many gods who had mastered the samsara wheel, but there were not many who had mastered it to such a profound degree. Lin Muyu found it extremely difficult to deal with the attacks. She blocked with both the Xianyuan sword and the Eastern Flower sword, but she still couldn't block the Torch Dragon's frenzied attacks. The attack speed was simply too fast, so fast that she couldn't even react in time. "Be careful!" Zhu Long roared and thrust his sword at Lin Muyu's neck. It was too late for her to dodge or parry. Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. Immediately, the dragon blood shield condensed in front of her. Pung! Zhu Long's thin sword was shaken away, but Lin Muyu also felt a slight pain in her chest. The 7 luminaries' immortal gourd had been shattered, and her body had also suffered a certain degree of shock. "Is that all?" Zhu Long sneered. Lin Muyu did not speak. A bunch of gourd vines quietly spread out behind Torch Dragon and suddenly tied him up. Suddenly, the Xianyuan sword shone brightly and the power of 8 desolates flowed rapidly. Lin Muyu launched a determined strike. 5 elements, 8 wastelands, destruction. At that moment, Zhulong was unable to move as a look of shock finally appeared on his face. Pung! The Xianyuan sword was extremely sharp. It directly pierced through the divine wall and slashed into Zhulong's body. Swish! A sword light flashed and directly split Zhulong's body into 2. Not good. Although Lin Muyu succeeded, she secretly cursed in her heart. It was too smooth. Zhulong was not weak to this extent. Sure enough, there was no trace of blood on the blade. Zhulong, who was split in 2, turned into rays of golden light and dissipated. This was just a fake body, the condensation of a kind of illusion. "You're so ruthless, kid." Zhulong's voice came from behind. Lin Muyu slowly turned around, but she heard the sound of a sword cutting through the air behind her. What was going on? She quickly leaned back and saw a sword light flashing through the air. If she had not dodged quickly, she would have been cut in half by Zhulong's sword. Before Lin Muyu could stabilize her body, another sword energy attacked in front of her. Why was there another attack? Lin Muyu quickly used the East Flower sword to block it, but found that there were 2 Zhulong in front and behind her. Moreover, their attacks were real. What kind of illusion was this? Looking up, Zhulong's dark golden eyes were filled with smugness. "You're still far from being able to fight me." Just now, she remembered Gomang's warning not to look into Zhulong's eyes, but it was too late. Swoosh swoosh in the cold wind, 2 more Zhulong figures appeared. He had already transformed into 4 people. Following that, attacks came from all directions. How could Lin Muyu resist? Her body was quickly hit. 7 or 8 swords slashed at the god wall, and the already thick god wall finally began to slowly peel off. In the distance, Gomang frowned. "Are we going to lose?" "Not really," Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice, and a rich golden light surged into his body, as if he was wearing a golden battle suit. Facing an expert like Zhulong, he had no choice but to quickly enter the state of immortal golden body. Oh, Zhulong couldn't help but be surprised. "So it's immortal golden body, no wonder you have the ability to defeat Gomang. However, you can't see through my illusion because it's too sudden. Immortal golden body is just a sandbag to be beaten." Just as Zhulong said, in the air, Zhulong's illusion clones fell on Lin Muyu like meteors, launching a series of attacks. But Lin Muyu could only rely on the elephant wheel and immortal golden body to defend himself. In the blink of an eye, he was already covered with cuts and bruises. He sank into his EC and thought hard. Why was it that he could not see through Zhulong's illusion? But he could only see that there were no waves in E-high, like a clear mirror. When he sank to the surface of the water, his figure was reflected in the E-high, and the water rippled slightly, stirring up ripples. Yin and yang, mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. In an instant, he seemed to have a sudden realization. His spiritual perception quickly returned to his body, only to find that Zhulong's attacks were becoming more and more fierce. Buzz! Lin Muyu suddenly stepped into the void, and suddenly a huge golden Taishu celestial form appeared in the air, forming a horizontal plane. He ignored Zhulong's attack and flipped upside down. When his palm entered the taishu, his whole body quickly disappeared from the air. Interesting. Gomang couldn't help but laugh. Swoosh. When Lin Muyu reappeared, he was in a dark chaos. In front of him, Zhulong moved quickly, standing in different directions to attack. It wasn't a group, but a single person. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. This was a space in a different dimension. Zhulong was actually not in the ancestral sorcerer's illusion at all, but launched many attacks from within. Being in the ancestral sorcerer's illusion, she naturally couldn't see through his attacks. Clang! The sword that was originally aimed at Lin Muyu's chest was shaken away by the Donghua sword. Ha! Zhulong couldn't help but be shocked. In the next moment, Lin Muyu launched a fierce attack. She waved both swords continuously, and the chaos of all life, the demonic dance of the two luminaries, the calamity of all beings, and the cry of the four luminaries burst out in an instant. Each of the 7 luminaries' Xian energy was different from the other. The power, momentum, and method of activation were also different. Zhulong's continuous waving of both swords was unable to block it. Bam! The cry of the 4 luminaries' Xian landed on Zhulong's shoulder, causing light to scatter on the divine wall. The dimensional space was not a place for gods to come to. There was dimensional wind everywhere, and the gods who came here would constantly be baptized by the dimensional wind. In fact, it was a tactic that hurt the enemy by 1,000 and oneself by 800. However, Lin Muyu had the immortal golden body and could easily withstand the dimensional wind, but Zhulong wasn't. He was only the illusion sorcerer's ancestral sorcerer, not omnipotent. As the battle went on, Zhulong suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, showing signs of defeat. Swoosh! The Xianyuan sword spun in the air, turned into a golden light, and slammed into Zhulong's chest, causing him to retreat in a sorry state. Just as he was retreating, Lin Muyu's figure appeared behind him. The East Flower sword burst out with light, and thousands of rays of starlight swept across. Bang, bang, bang. The light of the 7 luminaries' stars' transformation penetrated Zhulong's body, and he disappeared with a grunt. It turned out that this body was also an illusion. However, there was a miserable howl in the gray space, and a black shadow flew out. Under the illumination of the starlight, it revealed its true appearance. This was Zhulong's true body. Enough, young hero, I've lost. Zhulong roared loudly. Lin Muyu turned her wrist, and the stars in the sky suddenly disappeared. She smiled and said, "Then let's go back." Yes. In the ancestral wizard's illusion, the light condensed into 2 figures. It was Lin Muyu and Zhulong who had returned from the dimensional space. Gomang saw the terrible wound on Zhulong's chest at a glance, and immediately understood. He smiled and said, "It seems that the winner has been decided. Zhulong, do you still want the Qiyu stone?" Zhulong looked a little dejected. The winner is king, and the loser is bandit. Since master has won, Zhulong is willing to serve master. However, the Qiyu stone was originally a treasure of ancestral god Qiyu. I hope that master will use the Qiyu stone well, and not let the treasure become useless. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said lightly, "I will deal with my things myself. I don't need you to remind me." Yes. Zhulong lowered his head. Zhulong was one of the 12 ancestral wizards. He was born arrogant, and would only submit to people who were absolutely stronger than him. It was because Lin Muyu understood this that she spoke in a cold tone. The awe-inspiring aura of a king had greatly reduced Zhulong's arrogance. Moreover, it was at this moment that Lin Muyu realized that Gomang was actually lying. He said that his strength was the weakest among the 4 ancestral wizards, but now it seemed that he might be the strongest. So, what do we do now? Gomang asked. Lin Muyu landed on the ground and said, "Rest for a day and wait for Dijiang and Changliang to challenge us." Zhulong also landed and immediately knelt on one knee. He said respectfully, "Master, Changliang is a defeated opponent. If he really comes, I, Zhulong, can take care of him. You don't need to do anything." "What about Dijiang?" Lin Muyu asked. Gomang couldn't help but stroke his beard and smiled. "Dijiang is very fast. I'm afraid he has already arrived. But don't worry, young hero. When Dijiang comes, I, Gomang, will fight him." Lin Muyu chuckled. "That's good." Chapter 1056. In the end they waited for 3 days. Lin Muyu had recovered her strength to its peak state within these 3 days. She even had a slight breakthrough in the battle with Zhu Long, entering the 82nd Grotto Heaven Realm. Within these 3 days, Gomang only meditated while Zhu Long climbed the tree and fell into a deep sleep. Both of their cultivation methods were very unique, unlike Lin Muyu who had to cultivate the shapeless elephant spell, breathing, and so on. In the morning, a drizzle fell on the witch ancestor's illusion. Although this was an illusion, it was actually a real world. It was just that Zhu Long distorted the space and made it merge with the corpse cultivation plane. One was yang, one was yin. The witch ancestor's illusion was yang, while the corpse cultivation plane was yin. Just like the shadow of the moon on the river, they depended on each other and existed together. Why aren't Dijiang and Changliang here yet? Lin Muyu couldn't wait because she still didn't know if Qin Yin had successfully detoxified the poison with the help of the Ganoderma. Soon, don't worry, master. Zhu Long smiled and said, "It's hard for people to see through Dijiang's form. Maybe he's already here, but he's just testing and doesn't want to come out to see us." Lin Muyu frowned. These ancient gods were indeed very strange, but it seemed like Dijiang wouldn't be too weak. At this moment, a man's melodious singing came from the endless rain. "The drizzle is like silk, moistening my mulberry fields. The rain is like silk, washing my clothes. The heavy rain is like grains, drowning my home. Alas, the water is controlled. The water is controlled." Lin Muyu's scalp went numb. Was this Dijiang? A man with his own BGM? BGM equals background music. Background music. In the rain, the sound of flapping wings could be heard. A man holding a dagger slowly appeared. He had 4 fiery red wings on his back, and his appearance was a little strange. He had a thunderous face, and a pair of pea-sized eyes stared at Lin Muyu. He growled, "You are the one who killed the vengeful spirit of ancestor god Qiyu?" Lin Muyu stood up. "Are you Dijiang? You're courting death." Dijiang's figure suddenly disappeared, and the next moment, he charged at Lin Muyu's chest like a bolt of lightning. The dagger pierced through the rain, extremely sharp and fast. No wonder he was the fastest among the 4 great ancestral sorcerers. However, when Dijiang got close to Lin Muyu, he felt an irresistible domain, like layers of cotton wool, preventing his dagger from piercing through. Instead, the kid suddenly swung a long sword with a dazzling light, and with a bam, Dijiang and his dagger were sent flying back. Whoosh! Flames soared into the sky, stirring up the curtain of rain, and creating a huge fire barrier. Dijiang had already entered battle mode in an instant. "Dijiang, don't be angry," Gomang shouted. Zhu Long was also flying in the sky. "Dijiang, Gomang and I have decided to serve our new master. This Lin Muyu is our new master. Why, do you wish to be our enemy?" Emperor Jiang was stunned and said, "Candle Dragon, Gomang, do you still remember who you are? You are the protectors of the Jiuli tribe, the ancestral witches of ancestral god Qiyu. Have you forgotten?" "No, we haven't." Gomang's voice was calm, but each word was sonorous. "Dijiang, you are too stubborn. The Jiuli tribe is long gone. Ancestral god Qiyu has turned into 3 spirits. The Qiyu stone is in Lin Muyu's hands now. We can't violate the rules set by the ancestral god anymore. Whoever has the Qiyu stone will be our new leader." "Qiyu stone? Where is the Qiyu stone?" Dijiang yelled. Lin Muyu reached into her Qiankuan bag and raised the Qiyu stone. "Here." "Hey!" Dijiang laughed. He suddenly disappeared in the wind. The next moment, a powerful cold light went straight for Lin Muyu's arm. It was Dijiang's dagger. He wanted to cut off Lin Muyu's arm and take the Qiyu stone. This guy was really stubborn. But Lin Muyu wasn't that easy to deal with. Dijiang was fast, but Lin Muyu wasn't slow either. With a light flick of her palm, her entire body was covered in a layer of golden light. She flipped the Xianyuan sword, and with the power of 5 elements and 8 wastelands, she slammed it onto Dijiang's dagger. Bang! The might of the strike sent Dijiang tumbling backward as he retreated dozens of meters. He was good at speed, but he was inferior to Gomang and Torch Dragon in terms of strength. As such, he was no match for Lin Muyu in her undying golden body state. "What are you doing?" Dijiang, you are crazy. Gomang yelled. Dijiang's face was full of hatred. How can the four ancestors of witchcraft submit to others? How can the four ancestors of witchcraft submit to others? You are the crazy ones. Did we cultivate for 10,000 years, just to submit to a brat like this? You two come with me. Kill him and take the Chiyu stone. Isn't it better for us to be the masters? Dragon Dijiang's movements slowed down. He flicked his tongue. Gomang was a little anxious. Once Dragon Dijiang wavered, it would be difficult to handle. In an instant, the whirlwind on the saber danced. Gomang shouted and rushed to Dijiang. You want to kill him? Get through me first. With a rumble, Dijiang's dagger blocked Gomang's saber, but he was forced to retreat. Gomang's body shone brightly as he raised his strength to the limit. He struck Dijiang 3 times in a row. Dijiang had no chance to fight back. When the 4th strike was about to land, Dijiang suddenly retreated. His face was full of arrogance. Gomang. I'm done. I admit defeat. Dijiang's mouth and nose were already bleeding from the impact of the wood power, and he looked extremely miserable. Zhu Long couldn't help but fall silent, his heart pounding. The 4 great shaman ancestors had lived together in the illusion for many years, but they'd never truly fought against each other. Zhu Long was well aware of Dijiang's strength, but Dijiang couldn't even take 4 strikes from Gomang. Gomang's strength was probably above his own. In the past, Gomang had the last say among the 4 ancestral magi. No one thought much of the wood ancestral magus, but from the looks of it, it was Gomang who didn't want to vie for it, not the other way around. Dragon Dijiang took a deep look at Lin Muyu, who was standing on the ground. He watched calmly in the face of such a big battle, which showed that he was very sure of Gomang's strength. For a moment, Dragon Dijiang was confused. He really didn't know why Gomang was willing to show his true strength for this kid. Besides, the Chiyu stone was in his hands. Forget it, surrender for now. Gomang lowered the saber in his hand and said lightly, Lin Muyu has the Chiyu stone in her hand. The overlord spirit of Chiyu in the stone has now dissipated. Ancestor God left the last words that whoever gets the Chiyu stone will be the new leader. Dijiang, have you forgotten the last words of Ancestor God? Now Lin Muyu is the new leader of our Jiuli tribe. Whoever dares to disobey, I, Gomang, will be the first to kill him. Dijiang fell to the ground with the dagger in his hand. He knelt on one knee in front of Lin Muyu and said, Dijiang is unreasonable. Please don't take it to heart, master. Please forgive me. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. Get up and heal yourself. We'll leave here when Changliang comes. Dijiang was stunned. Master, you want to leave the ancestral sorcerer's dreamland? Yes. Leave the ancestral sorcerer's dreamland and enter the 64 domains. I need your power to help me settle the 64 domains. Then find a way to leave the prehistoric mystery land. Help me gather Xing Tian's heavenly army and Gong Gong's navy. Then we'll go back to the East Heaven realm and become gods. Go back to the divine realm. Dijiang seemed to be still in a daze. Lin Muyu said, Don't you feel that this place is like a cage after staying in the ancestral sorcerer's dreamland for so many years? And you are prisoners. You've been locked in this cage for so many years. That's enough. If you recognize me as the new leader, I'll naturally take you out. Good, that's great. Dijiang seemed a little excited and knelt again. Thank you for your kindness, master. It seemed that the 4 great ancestral sorcerers' overlord spirit must be the restriction of the Chiyu stone. That's why the 4 great ancestral sorcerers' dreamland were always in the ancestral sorcerer's dreamland. Otherwise, who would be willing to stay here? Dijiang sat down to heal his wounds. Flames danced around him, and the 4 wings behind him slowly spread out. These 4 wings were different from Qin Yin's golden wings. They were more like real wings instead of energy bodies. Where is Changliang? Maybe we should go find him? Lin Muyu was a little impatient. Gomang pondered and said, Leader, Changliang is the furthest from here. He's in the Dreamland Desert thousands of miles away. But he'll come when he feels our call. It'll just take a while. If we go find him, I'm afraid we won't even know where he is. So please wait patiently. Lin Muyu said. Once Changliang comes, will there be trouble again? Definitely not. Zhulong said. Why? It's very simple. 3 of the 4 great ancestral sorcerer have already surrendered to you. Changliang's strength is ranked last among the 4 great ancestral sorcerers. Does this kid have any other choice but to surrender? Zhulong's mouth curled into a sinister smile. He was very cunning by nature. Even if he surrendered to Lin Muyu, the new leader, he still retained that kind of cunning and slyness that didn't easily trust others. Lin Muyu sighed. She had no choice but to continue to wait. She only hoped that Changliang would come early. With the 4 great ancestral sorcerers subordinates under Qiyu, they should have more confidence to challenge and conquer other forces when they return to the 64 domains. After all, Zhulong's cultivation base was at the 97th level of Grotto Heaven. Gomang's cultivation base was at the 96th level of Grotto Heaven. And Dijiang's cultivation base was at the 95th level of Grotto Heaven. Any one of them was in existence that could destroy the world in the 64 domains. With her and Xiao's strength, it was not an exaggeration to say that they could sweep the 64 domains. At this time, a group of visitors came to the Falling Star domain, one of the 11 southern domains. It was a group of experts who came to visit secretly in the middle of the night. Dozens of people in black robes entered the domain castle of the Falling Star domain under the moonlight, and were welcomed into the main hall by Zhang Xian. Swoosh! Under the light, a group of people took their seats. The person closest to Zhang Xian lifted his cloak and revealed an unruly face. It was the domain lord of the Fire Lion domain, Zhuang Fei. The others also lifted their cloaks, and their eyes were full of radiance. Chapter 1057. Zhang Xian thanks all of you for coming to the Starfall region. Zhang Xian stood up and cupped his hands towards the crowd, saying, Region Lord Zhuang Fei of the Fiery Lion region, Region Lord Zhang Yugong of the Imperishable region, Region Lord Shibuhui of the Carrier region, and the heroes of the 3 great regions, I, Zhang Xian, greet you. Everyone cupped their fists. You are too kind, Region Lord Zhang Xian. Zhuang Fei narrowed his eyes and smiled. Are you sure about Region Lord Zhang Xian's information? Is Lin Muyu of the Dragon League really dead? Very much so, Zhang Xian said. In order to find the antidote for Qin Yin, Lin Muyu dared to barge into the corpse nurturing plane alone. The corpse nurturing plane is a place where living people are not allowed to enter. Even gods do not dare to act rashly. Lin Muyu's aura completely disappeared on the 2nd day. He entered the corpse nurturing plane. My men in the corpse nurturing plane also reported that Lin Muyu was gravely injured and killed by a mysterious person. Wonderful. Zhuang Fei could not help but clap his hands and laugh. Lin Muyu's ambition is clear. With his death, we can finally relax. Chang Yugong of the Imperishable region had a mustache. His eyes were full of cunning. He smiled. Then, Region Lord Zhang Xian must have something important to discuss? Zhang Xian could not help but laugh. It is so tiring to talk like this. Why don't we be frank? This time, Zhang Xian invited all of you here to unite the 4 regions to destroy the Dragon League in one fell swoop, and divide the Dragon League's territory and treasures. Good, that's how it should be. The region lord of the earth-bearing region, Shibuhui, smiled and said, However, I don't know how this will be divided. I think we should first discuss how it will be divided. This way, we can all contribute our strength, am I right? Zhuang Fei nodded in agreement. Zhang Xian smiled. Simple. The 4 regions will contribute and divide the territory according to the number of people we send. How about it? Longfishbow smiled faintly. That's easy. The imperishable realm can mobilize 11 god emperors, 200 divine kings, and 700 divine venerables. How should we split the spoils? Zhang Xian didn't say anything. He just looked at Zhuang Fei. Zhuang Fei laughed out loud. The Fiery Lion region will definitely send out all its forces. 17 god thearchs, 0 god kings, and 800 godly venerables. What do you think? Zhang Xian remained silent and looked at Shibuhui. Shibuhui clapped his hands and smiled. Looks like we can't let the territorial lords underestimate the earth-bearing region. The earth-bearing region is willing to send out 8 celestial emperors, 187 divine kings, and 1100 hierarchs. Everyone took a deep breath. Everyone knew that the earth-bearing domain was powerful, but no one expected Shibuhue to have so many hierarch realm experts. More than 1,000. It was a scale that only the ultimate major domain could have. Even the Eternal Domain and the Fiery Lion Domain, the top 3 domains in the West, did not have so many hierarch realm experts. Zhang Xian laughed and said, "That's great. We have a total of 46 emperor gods, over 800 divine kings, and over 3,000 hierarch gods. With such a powerful army, we can easily crush Dragon City and share the Dragon Alliance with us. But the Territorial Lord still hasn't said how the Dragon League's territories will be divided." Zhuang Fei smiled faintly. Zhang Xian said, "How about this? Territorial Lord Zhuang Fei will take Dragon City alone. The Falling Star region is willing to take Golden Dragon region. The Imperishable region will take Sparrow region. And the Earth-bearing region will take Sky Foothill region. How about that?" "All right, it's a deal." Zhuang Fei's eyes lit up as he clapped his hands. Dragon City used to be a castle in the Raging Fire region. It was also the largest and wealthiest castle in the south. He was more than happy to agree. Chang Yugong and Shibuhue looked at each other and didn't say anything. The Fiery Lion region was the strongest among the 4 regions after all. It was reasonable for Zhuang Fei to take Dragon City. The two nodded. Zhang Xian said happily, "Then we will gather in the Falling Star region 3 days later. Once the sky turns dark, we will rush to Dragon City and crush it to dust. However, please don't hold back. There's Blazing Angel Shiyan in Dragon City, and Tang Xiaoxi with the Fire Over Godhead. Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, and the others aren't easy to deal with either. We must do our best to destroy the Dragon League with minimal losses." All right. Everyone raised their glasses and drank to celebrate the division of Dragon City. They didn't know that Xiao Fairy, who had destroyed the Spirit Wind region and the Ancient Desolation region, was here again. Zhuang Fei had a good plan. If he could get Dragon City and the Fiery Lion region's castle, the 2 most powerful castles in the south and west would belong to him. Then he would have the power to fight against the Heaven-devouring region. Chang Yugong and Shibuhue were just fishing in troubled waters. It would be better if they could get more benefits, and they could escape the fate of being attacked by the Dragon League. After all, the best defense was offense. As for Zhang Xian, he was the most afraid. What Lin Muyu said last time was still vivid in his mind. The Falling Star region might be the first to be destroyed by the Dragon League. Therefore, the bigger the mess, the better. It would be best if they could destroy the Dragon League with the power of the other 3 regions. Even if they couldn't destroy it, they could weaken the Dragon League, so that it wouldn't be able to attack the Falling Star region again. Everyone had their own thoughts, and it was these thoughts that led to this alliance. Dragon City. Qin Yin, who was lying on the bed, was reading an ancient book about the 64 regions. She put down the book in boredom and asked, "Xiaoxi, has you not come back yet?" "No, don't worry." Tang Xiaoxi chuckled. "Why? You miss him so soon?" "No." Qin Yin blushed. She probably felt that her denial was too weak. She smiled and said, "You wicked girl, don't you miss him?" "I do," Tang Xiaoxi confessed. She looked worried and said, "But Mu's aura suddenly disappeared. Even Sister Xiao couldn't find her in the North Tianluan region. I really don't know what to do." Qinin frowned and said, "My body will fully recover in about 3 days. 3 days later, we will go to the corpse cultivation plain together." "Okay." Outside the door, a slim figure was sitting on the red railing. It was Xian. She silently looked at the swaying bamboo forest in the courtyard. Her eyes were faint as she said, "Several powerful forces have gathered in the direction of the Luoxing domain. Have you sensed it?" Xiao leaned on the pillar and smiled. "Of course." Xian chuckled. "If I'm not wrong, one of the auras should belong to the Fire Lion region lord, Zhuang Fei. I've seen this person before. He's greedy and ruthless. The other auras are not good people. Zhang Xian, that idiot, is probably plotting something bad again. Now that Yu is not in Dragon City, the big regions are probably going to attack Dragon City. We don't need to wait for you to come back. We can defeat this motley crew. Xiao took a deep look at Xian and smiled. If you didn't lose your cultivation, I'm afraid you could destroy more than half of the 64 regions by yourself. How is it? Doesn't it feel different when your strength is not as good as before? That's really different. The clowns that you could crush with one finger in the past can now ride on your chest and do whatever they want. Why ride on your chest? Xiao was a little speechless. Xian giggled and said, Xiao, after cultivating for tens of thousands of years, don't tell me you haven't tasted the feeling between a man and a woman? Xiao's weakness was exposed, but her expression was still calm. She said, Grandmaster once warned me that practicing our sex mantra with a virgin body will yield twice the results with half the effort. Of nonsense, Xian said. I can see that the 7 luminaries demon emperor of the Eastern Heaven realm likes you very much. You can't miss this opportunity. This kind of man is very rare. If you miss it, there won't be another one. Is that so? The corner of Xiao's mouth raised slightly. If the demon emperor is a good man, well, forget it. Let me tell you something. 5 years ago, when the demon emperor went on a crusade against the border of the Northern Heaven realm, he obtained a lot of prisoners of war. Among them were the 14 female war gods of the Northern Heaven realm. Guess what? The demon emperor spent 2 weeks to punish them separately. I won't marry this womanizer. Compared to him, Yu is much better. Xian couldn't help but laugh. But Yu is also a womanizer. He likes Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi. He also has an ambiguous relationship with Chu Yao of the Broken Cauldron realm. Also, there's a lot of sisters. Si Kong Yao Jin Xiaotang, Wei Chou and so on. I don't want to talk about them anymore. Xiao interrupted her. Wait, Wei Chou is a man, right? Don't think I don't know anything. You saw through me. Xian stuck out her tongue. Xiao couldn't help but laugh. Xian, you really can't see through me. Why do I have to see through you? Anyway. Xian raised the corner of her mouth. Anyway, in a few days, the two of us will most likely fight the enemy side by side. I didn't expect that you and I would actually face the enemy side by side. Yes. Xiao nodded. There are many experts in the Blazing Lion region and the Falling Star region. There are hundreds of God the Arch Realm experts. Xian, how is your strength recovering? How much pressure can you share with me? Xian pondered and said, I have just recovered to the God the Arch Realm. I have used up too much of my strength. I can't fight many people in a short time. If they send 200 God Thearchs, I will fight too. The other 198 will depend on you. Xiao clenched her fist. Her beautiful face was in high spirits. No problem, leave it to me. 3 days later, in the Ancestor Wizard's illusory realm, thunder rumbled in the morning. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. It seemed like a heavy rain was about to fall. Is it going to rain? Lin Muyu sat on a tree branch and asked. It's not rain. Someone is coming. Gomong smiled faintly. We have been waiting for him. As expected, there was thunder but no rain. Chang Liang was the Thunder Ancestral Wizard. His control over thunder and lightning was the strongest among the 12 ancestral wizards. His entrance was domineering. He had only walked for 3 days, but Lin Muyu had subconsciously listed him as someone with no sense of direction. Among the rolling dark clouds, a person descended from the sky. He looked like a centaur, but he held a python in his hand. He also had a venomous snake in his mouth. The venomous snake twisted its body slowly, sending chills down one's spine. Chang Liang, come and greet the new leader. Gomong shouted loudly. Chang Liang was indeed the weakest of the 4 ancestral wizards. He landed in front of Lin Muyu without any resistance. Thunder Ancestral Wizard Chang Liang greets the leader. Why are you holding a snake and having another in your mouth? Lin Muyu felt that her worldview was challenged. She was very unhappy. Chang Liang stammered. That's because he couldn't explain it for a long time. Because of the setting. Because of the setting. Chapter 1058. The 4 great ancestral sorcerers were all present, and stood respectfully in front of Lin Muyu, awaiting her orders. A light drizzle fell in the ancestral sorcerer's illusion, nourishing all living things and making people feel relaxed and happy. Lin Muyu smelled the fresh air of the wilderness. This place was much more pleasing to the eye than the corpse breeding fields. He looked at the 4 Grand Sorcerer ancestors and asked, "Are there only 4 of you in the entire Grand Sorcerer Dreamland?" "Yes, Chief," the Candle Dragon said respectfully. "Then leave and return to the 64 domains. Your mission to protect the Starstone has ended." "Ah." Chang Liang did not react and said, We are leaving now." "Why are you reluctant?" Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "The Grand Sorcerer Dreamland is just a corner of the 64 domains. There is a bigger and more vast place out there. I need your strength to help me sweep through the 64 domains." "Yes, I understand." Chang Liang nodded and coiled the giant snake around his waist instead of holding it in his mouth. Otherwise, this new chief seemed to be on the verge of going berserk. Lin Muyu glanced at the Candle Dragon and said, "All right, take us out of the Grand Sorcerer Dreamland." "Yes, Chief." The Candle Dragon cupped his fists respectfully and muttered to himself. Divine power flew out of his body and the earth trembled in the blink of an eye. Countless golden lights shone from the surface of the earth, and the entire world was reversed in an instant. Yin and Yang exchanged places, and the soil under their feet became wet and soft. A faint stench spread out. They were already in the corpse cave basin of the corpse breeding fields, which was also the place where Lin Muyu left. Finally back. Seeing the familiar corpse cave basin, Lin Muyu could not help but feel excited. But not far away, the rolling corpse beasts were roaring and hitting the stone walls, making loud banging sounds. General Hua rode on the giant elephant and said loudly, "Train well. One day, we will avenge our master and take back my Dong Hua sword." Lin Muyu could not help but laugh and coughed. General Hua turned around and was so scared that his face turned pale. He took a few steps back and said, "Did I see a ghost?" "You are a ghost. How can you say you saw a ghost?" Lin Muyu said. "Young hero, you came back from the ancestral sorcerer's illusion. Then aren't these the legendary?" General Hua shuddered. Only then did he see Gomang, Zhulong, and the other oddly shaped fellows. Every single one of them had strong divine power and aura. Every single one of them was a perfected god-emperor ancient god. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "I don't need to introduce me. Behind me are the 4 ancestors of the Grand Sorcerer Dreamland. They have already followed me. So, General Hua Master." And General Hua, "Master, you Hua, you all you. I'm Muyu and to kill." "You." General Hua hurriedly rolled down from the back of the elephant and said, "I, Hua can, pay my respects to everyone. Grand Wizard Ancestor, I am a commander under your master. Everyone please." "There's no need to say any more." Gomang interrupted him and said, "You are a minion of Ancestor God Chiyu's spiritual sense, so we won't kill you. You should stay in the corpse nurturing plains and take care of yourself. Leader has other matters to attend to, so he doesn't have time to waste with you. Take care of yourself." "Yes, yes," General Hua kowtowed repeatedly. Lin Muyu leaped up and disappeared into the sky of the corpse nurturing plain along with the 4 great ancestral sorcerers. From afar, a ray of light could be seen converging on the ground. It was Fuzhu. He had waited bitterly for nearly half a month, and he finally got to see Lin Muyu. In the western suburbs of Dragon City, the sky was filled with streaks of light and fire. The experts from the Fiery Lion region, the Falling Star region, and the other 3 regions arrived one after another. They planned to launch a surprise attack before dawn. However, their auras couldn't escape the senses of Xiao and Xiyin. The moment the 4 regions gathered at the Falling Star region, Xiao already knew when they would attack. In the wilderness of the western suburbs, the members of the Dragon League were hiding in the weeds. Feng Zhanlin looked up at the streaks of light and fire in the sky and couldn't help licking his lips. What a bunch of lunatics. The Fiery Lion region and the Falling Star region have turned out in full force. It's all thanks to Xiao Fairy's warning. Otherwise, if the Dragon City was attacked, we wouldn't have the time to react. Machi Lin gripped his weapon tightly and said, "When do we attack?" A towering tree stood in the wilderness like a phoenix crown. Inside the tree, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi stood side by side, looking at the attackers in the sky from afar. Qin, carrying the Nuwa zither on her back, shook her head and said, "Don't be hasty. Let half of them pass. We'll attack from the middle and disrupt their plans in an instant, so that they can't connect the front and the back." "Yes. Xiaoxi, are you nervous?" Qin asked with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi giggled, the bottom gust spear in her hand glowing. "How could I be? In any case, I'm a veteran of hundreds of battles. The 4 regions really have the guts to attack the Dragon City. They definitely didn't expect that Sister Xiao is already in the Dragon City. If Mu is also here, they'll definitely suffer the consequences this time." Qin smiled. Even if Brother Yu isn't here, they'll still suffer the consequences. If they want to touch the Dragon City, they should have thought about the consequences waiting for them. As she spoke, Qin ordered from afar, "When the battle starts, don't kill them all. Focus on making them lose the ability to resist. Capture more, kill less." Feng Zhanlin and Feng Zhanhai nodded in unison. "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi blinked her eyes with a hint of doubt. "Where did Sister Xiao go?" "I don't know. She said she went to catch up with Zhuang Fei." "Sister Xiao still knows Zhuang Fei." "Who knows? It's about time. Get ready to attack." "Yes." Qin gently waved her snow-white arm. And suddenly, the Nuwa zither was already in front of her chest. She looked at the vast sky above and said, "I'll force them to come down. Everyone get ready to attack." As she spoke, she gently stroked the Nuwa zither with both hands. In an instant, a stream of light surged and swept across the land like a tide. At the same time, dense golden zither energy appeared in the air. Although the sound of the zither did not spread in the air, the vast impact made the flying gods stop in their tracks. The golden energy instantly formed a huge wall, blocking everyone's path. Pung pung pung. Some ultimate gods and deity kings who could not dodge in time hit the giant wall, spitting out blood as they fell. "Attack!" Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, and the rest pulled out their weapons and rushed forward. In an instant, the wild forest in the night was like countless fireflies flying into the sky. Waves of energy surged and light bloomed in the sky. The divine powers of the gods collided with each other, emitting colorful lights and turning the night into day in the blink of an eye. Swoosh! Tang Xiaoxi flew among the crowd like a meteor. Her Tig spear was indestructible, stabbing one expert after another. In a short moment, the gods could not react in time. None of them could block Tang Xiaoxi's powerful penetrating power, especially the blazing firepower of her great fire technique. It was not something that ordinary divine powers could withstand. "Little girl, you're courting death." The Fiery Lion Region's Deputy Region Master swung his spear and attacked Tang Xiaoxi from behind. The divine power waves overlapped and were very dazzling. But before he could reach Tang Xiaoxi, a shapeless divine power beside him smashed heavily into his armpit. With a pung sound, the divine wall was shaken to the point where light scattered everywhere. The Deputy Region Master hurriedly turned around and looked fiercely at the attacker. To his surprise, he discovered that it was Qin, the God Arch expert who wielded the Nuwa zither. "You're courting death," the Deputy Region Master shouted. His spear carried a great amount of divine power and flew over. His aura was like 10,000 galloping horses and falling stars. The weapon in his hand turned into thousands of spear tips and attacked Qin with great energy. The corners of Qin Yin's mouth curled up, revealing her beautiful little dimples. A golden wave flowed through the Nuwa zither, and a strong wind suddenly swirled around her, forming a perfect wind barrier around her. The tip of the opponent's spear kept bursting with golden energy, but it could not move Qin at all. Instead, Tang Xiaoxi stabbed the Dig spear from behind. "Huh!" The Deputy Region Master turned around to block, but he was caught off guard. Tang Xiaoxi opened her hand and used the Fire God Seal. The Fire God Seal hit his chest heavily and injured him slightly. There were a few more invisible attacks behind him. It was the Great Hope sound from the Nuwa zither. "Wah!" The Deputy Region Master of the Fiery Lion region spat out a mouthful of blood. Many of the bones on his back and chest were broken. He was in a sorry state and could not even use 30% of his strength. Another beautiful girl appeared beside him. It was Luo Xintian from the Dragon League. She was also a God Tharch expert. Luo Xintian did not hold back and launched a series of fierce attacks. She shouted in a delicate voice, "Get down and be bound." "I am." The deputy region master looked up at the sky and saw the Chiwe sword that had split into countless rays of light. The woman in the sky was extremely majestic, and the 6 wings behind her were dazzling. It was Seraph Shiyen. Although Shiyen had only recovered to the God Tharch realm, she had the identity and cultivation of Seraph. It was not a problem for her to fight half of the Fiery Lion region. At this moment, she was doing the same. She alone blocked half of the people from the Fiery Lion region. Together with Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, and the others, the Fiery Lion region alone was not a match for the Dragon League. Sigh. The deputy region lord let out a long sigh and landed on the ground. If he continued to resist, he would most likely die. The people from the Meteorite region and the Earth-bearing region are here. After half an hour, Niugung appeared in front of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi with blood all over his body. After fighting for a long time, everyone was separated and fighting each other. The western suburbs were filled with godly state experts from both sides. It was hard to determine the winner. After all, they had the numbers. Once the Meteorite territory and the Earth-bearing territory attacked together, it was obvious that Qin Yin, Shiyen, and the others wouldn't be able to resist them. After all, dozens of Celestial Tharch realm experts weren't just for show. As expected, Tang Xiaoxi squinted her eyes and looked at the sky. Streams of light were flying towards them. It was Shi Buhui, the region master of the Earth-bearing region with a flaming battle saber. Tang Xiaoxi was the first to face the enemy. The flames of the Burgos spear surged towards Shi Buhui's battle saber. Clang! The flames burst out and a wave of flames swept the surroundings. Tang Xiaoxi was forced to take a few steps back. Her face was filled with shock. Shi Buhui was indeed powerful. Die! Shi Buhui roared. He spun his long saber and attacked Tang Xiaoxi, Luo Xintian, Niugung, and the others in an arc. He was ruthless. He was planning to kill so many people from the Dragon League. Chapter 1059. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin had been fighting for a long time, and had used up more than half of their divine power. Naturally, they were no match for Shi Buhui, who was at the 87th level of Grotto Heaven. Even Qin Yin was overwhelmed by the slash. The sound of the guqin was heard, and the energy of hope sound was ready to be released. However, Qin Yin wasn't confident that she could block Shi Buhui's attack. In the air, Xian looked over and said, "Be careful." Wu, Tang Xiaoxi and Luo Xintian both assumed a defensive stance. 34C and 32B were surging with divine power in front of them. Niugung was gritting his teeth, but he was powerless. The difference in strength was too great. Swoosh! Just as Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shiyan, and the others' hearts were in their throats, a spatial crack suddenly flashed in the air with a bang, and then a figure fell from the sky. His toes stepped on the furious thunder, and fell like a meteor. With a bang, his combat boots stepped on Shi Buhui's tyrannical saber energy, and directly stomped the saber energy into the ground. The bottom of his feet roared, and the crisis of this saber was quickly resolved. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi opened their mouths wide and looked at the back of this person. They missed him so much. It was none other than Lin Muyu. He turned around and smiled brightly. "Xiao Yin, Xiaoxi, it seems that I'm not late. You're finally back." Qin Yin's voice was trembling. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and looked unhappy. However, everyone knew that she was faking it. "Let's get rid of the strong enemy in front of us first." Lin Muyu raised her hand and pulled out the Xianyuan sword. At the same time, with a wave of her left hand, the Donghua sword, along with its scabbard, fell into the soil in front of Qin Yin. She smiled and said, "Little Yin, this is a gift for you. Use it as a sword." Qin Yin raised her hand, and the Donghua sword was unsheathed with a clang. The blade of the sword was shining brightly. The power and sharpness of this sword were many times stronger than the star's sword. Qin Yin was pleasantly surprised. "Thank you, Brother Ayu. Do you need me and Xiaoyin to help?" "No need. You guys fight the small fries." Leave this person to me. Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword and looked at Shibuhui. You look familiar. Who are you? Shibuhui gritted his teeth. Alliance leader Lin, you're so forgetful. I'm Shibuhui. I'm the Earthload region leader Shibuhui. Have you forgotten me? A lowly person. I don't remember. You. Shibuhui trembled with anger. Where are the brothers of the Earthload region? Kill them all. The Dragon League must perish today. As long as the Dragon League is not destroyed, we won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. In the sky, thousands of stars twinkled. They were the followers of the Earthload region. In terms of numbers, the Earthload region had the advantage in numbers. What? Do you think you're the only ones with help? Lin Muyu laughed. Gomang, are you still not going to show yourself? At your command, leader. In the sky, a muffled thunder-like sound descended. Immediately after, four beams of golden light fell in mid-air with a swoosh. One by one, human figures appeared. Each of them was standing on a huge golden wheel. It was the legendary divine wheel. For god Thearchs of the Daemon Garden had arrived. Oh my god. Shibuhui's heart skipped a beat. The information was wrong. Zhang Xian from the Fallen Star region didn't mention that Lin Muyu had so many perfected god Thearchs under her. Moreover, all of their faces were ferocious and didn't look like they were easy to deal with. If 4 god will experts were to attack, the Earthload region would probably be removed from the list of 64 domains. Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and shouted, Cultivators of the Earthload region, Shibuhui's greed knows no bounds. He actually wants to invade the Dragon League. Do you want to die with him? Now I'll give you a choice. Join the Dragon League and become my subordinates. Of course, there's another choice. Become the enemy of the Dragon League and disappear from the 64 domains. With that, Lin Muyu shouted, Gomang Zhulong, what are you waiting for? Kill Shibuhui. As soon as she finished speaking, the Xianyuan sword had already struck out. The first strike was the extremely powerful 6 elements calamity. Shibuhui's face was pale with regret. What else could he do now? There was no turning back. Everyone understood that if he were Lin Muyu, he wouldn't have been allowed to leave alive today. Once the domain master died, most of the followers would naturally surrender. This was also the reason why Lin Muyu gave the order to kill him. The flames on the saber surged as Shibuhui faced the 6 elements calamity head-on. Bang! How could he block it? He was blasted back nearly 100 meters. When he looked up, he saw Lin Muyu covered in golden light charging towards him. The Xianyuan sword struck again, 5 mountains descending from the heavens. Shibuhui complained incessantly. He raised his saber to block, but with a clang his saber was split into 2 by Lin Muyu. The saber was destroyed, and he was dead. Shibuhui was in despair. 2 powerful attacks came from behind him. It was the joint attack of Gomang and Zhulong. Any one of them had the ability to kill Shibuhui within 10 moves, let alone when they joined forces. PFFF. Gomang's saber and rapier pierced Shibuhui's body at the same time. The 3 experts activated their divine power at the same time. In the next moment, Shibuhui's body was vaporized. An 87th Heavenly Varch Realm expert was killed as easily as crushing an ant. Lin Muyu looked at the sky again and said, As long as you are willing to join the Dragon League, I will let bygones be bygones. In the sky, the thousands of deity realm experts from the earth-bearing region were dumbfounded. In the end, one person floated down. It was the Divine King realm expert that Lin Muyu saved on the longevity altar, Wang Xiang. Wang Xiang knelt on one knee and said, I, Wang Xiang, am willing to join the Dragon League and listen to Alliance Master Lin's orders. Lin Muyu's kindness on the longevity altar was quickly repaid. Wang Xiang's reputation in the earth-bearing region had always been pretty good. As soon as he surrendered, dozens of God Realm experts immediately landed and shouted, Since Big Brother Wang Xiang has surrendered to Alliance Lord Lin, then we are also willing to follow Alliance Lord Lin. Lin Muyu smiled happily. Welcome everyone. More and more people came. In the blink of an eye, everyone from the earth-bearing region had surrendered. If they didn't surrender, they would be killed. They didn't think that Gomang, Zhulong, Changliang, and Dijiang would be merciful. As long as Lin Muyu gave the order, they might kill everyone from the earth-bearing region. Now, it's time for you to make a contribution. Lin Muyu waved his arm and said, "Help the Dragon League achieve victory. Go." Their opponents immediately became the Fallen Star region and the Fiery Lion region. Everyone flew away, leaving behind a mess of battle in the wilderness and Shi Yan, Feng Zhanlin, and the others who were quickly finishing off their battles. "Where's Sister Xiao?" Lin Muyu asked. "She's at the forefront, blocking the people from the Fiery Lion region and the Imperishable region," Tang Xiaoxi said. Lin Muyu frowned. No wonder there weren't many people on the battlefield. Most of the forces from the 4 regions were intercepted by Xiao. He immediately flew up and said, "Xiao Yin, Xiaoxi, come with me to help Sister Xiao. For ancestral shamans, stay here and clean up the battlefield. Try to reduce the losses of the Dragon League." "Yes, leader." The 4 ancestral shamans disappeared in the blink of an eye to kill the enemy. These 4 people. Qin Yin blinked her eyes. Lin Muyu quickly hugged her and said with a smile, "We'll talk about it later. Let's go help Sister Xiao first." "Okay." Tang Xiaoxi looked sullen at the side. Lin Muyu turned to her and kissed her on the cheek. "Let's go, Xiaoxi." Tang Xiaoxi's gloomy mood quickly changed. She was so easy to coax. When Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi arrived, they saw a dazzling light in the sky. Wisps of life elemental energy turned into invincible killing intent and wreaked havoc in the sky. Thousands of immortal state warriors took turns to attack, but they were all defeated by Xiao. Almost none of them could last more than 3 rounds. Even the Fiery Lion region Lord Zhuang Fei couldn't take 3 moves from Xiao. Boom! The green light pierced through Zhuang Fei's body like a sharp sword, and blood splattered everywhere. Xiao walked in the air, and golden lotus flowers appeared under her feet. That was the purest life elemental energy. The lotus flowers bloomed, and the leaves were extremely green. Although it was just an illusion, it made people feel the most magical and great life elemental energy in the world. This life elemental energy became invincible in the hands of Xiao, a powerhouse at the 99th heaven level. You're here?" Xiao flipped her hand, and thousands of lotus flowers burst. The petals turned into flowing lights and wreaked havoc in the crowd of enemies. The immortals fell like meteors, and they were heavily injured. Indeed, after fighting for a long time, none of them could get close to Xiao. "Sister Xiao has always been well," Lin Muyu said with a smile. Xiao giggled. "Not bad. Here. What should we do with this Zhuang Fei? There's also Long Yugong, but I killed him by mistake. Zhuang Fei is still breathing." Lin Muyu looked around and saw Zhuang Fei panting heavily with the help of a few experts from the Fiery Lion region. He was in a sorry state. "Alliance leader Lin, spare me, spare me." Zhuang Fei's body trembled. "My Fiery Lion region will never become enemies with the Dragon League again. I, Zhuang Fei, swear on my integrity." "How much is your integrity worth?" Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. "Do you think I'd do something as stupid as letting a tiger back into the mountains? If you can be of use to me, then do so. If you don't, then I'll kill you. If I let you go now, I'm afraid you'll come back to bite me in the future." "Fuzhu, finish him off." "Yes, master." Fuzhu whizzed away. In the next moment, the dignified region master of the Fiery Lion region lost his personality and his soul. She was used to fighting and killing, so Lin Muyu was a little numb to it. She didn't care and led Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi to quickly subdue the people of the Fiery Lion region and the Imperishable region. This great victory would lay the foundation for the Dragon League to dominate the 64 regions, and Xiao wouldn't have come in vain. If Lin Muyu could unify the 64 regions, it would greatly increase the strength of the Eastern Heaven Realm. This was something that Xiao and the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor eagerly looked forward to. The battle continued until dawn. Among the 4 regions, the people of the Falling Star region had long since escaped, so they suffered very few losses. The Earth-bearing region surrendered completely, the Imperishable region surrendered 70 to 80%, and the Fiery Lion region surrendered half. The remaining half either died in battle or fled with heavy injuries. Compared to the other 3 regions, the Fiery Lion region was the more courageous one, But it was a pity that they still failed on the verge of success. Chapter 1060. As dusk approached, there were still godly state experts returning to Dragon City one after another. Many of them were injured to varying degrees. Feng Zhanlin personally received them at the gates of Domain Castle and arranged for their treatment and treatment. There was no celebratory feast in the side hall of Domain Castle, only a simple meal. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yan Ziao, the four witches and Fuzhu made up a table. This meal was a welcome dinner for Lin Muyu and the four witches. There were all kinds of dishes and spirit fruits on the table. Needless to say, the Dragon League was rich and powerful. The meal of the leader was 100 times better than that of an ordinary family. I didn't expect to see the legendary four witches. Xiao looked at Gomang and the others with a smile. You are all my seniors. Gomang and Zhulong were a little uneasy. Gomang coughed and said, We old guys are just wasting our time. Unlike Miss Xiao, who has cultivated to the great perfection 99 heavens at such a young age. It really makes us old guys who have lived for tens of thousands of years feel ashamed. Zhulong snorted and said, In the future, I still need to seek Fairy Xiao's guidance. It seemed that Zhulong was not very convinced of Xiao's cultivation. After all, the immortal realm also had a preference for males. Since ancient times, there were countless people who had cultivated to the great Tao, and most of them were men. Xiao smiled faintly and said, All right, I also hope Senior Zhulong can give me some guidance. Lin Muyu glanced at Zhulong and said, Even meat can't stop your mouth. Leader, what's wrong? Zhulong was confused. Lin Muyu said, Xiao's cultivation is far beyond your imagination. Zhulong, if you want to challenge Sister Xiao, you have to beat me first. If you can't even beat me, then don't mention Sister Xiao. Ahem, yes, leader. Zhulong was a little embarrassed. Indeed, he was no match for Lin Muyu. Qin Yin kicked Lin Muyu under the table and said with a hint of rebuke in her beautiful eyes, Zhulong is my senior, brother you, don't be like this. Besides, can you really beat Senior Zhulong? Guess Xiaoyin. Lin Muyu laughed. Qin Yin frowned slightly and pouted. If this was in the past, you definitely wouldn't be able to win. Senior Zhulong is at the 97th level of Grotto Heaven. The disparity between you and him is too great. But now, I can't say for sure. Let Senior Zhulong say it himself, Lin Muyu said with a smile. Zhulong said awkwardly, I sparred with the leader once in the ancestral wizard's illusory realm, and I indeed lost. The leader's cultivation in the state of mind is admirable. It far exceeds the level of cultivation that someone his age should have. Shi Yan squinted her eyes and smiled. I'm afraid the more important reason is the immortal golden body? Yes, it's the immortal golden body. Gomang nodded and said, Leader was ordered by Heaven's will to understand the legendary immortal golden body. This is also one of the reasons why we four ancestral wizards believe that he is the successor of Qiyu Stone. If he wasn't chosen by ancestral god Qiyu, how could he understand the secrets of heaven and obtain the immortal golden body? Tang Xiaoxi asked with a smile. Mu, is the immortal golden body really that powerful? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. After entering the immortal golden body, that feeling, he was silent. Tang Xiaoxi asked anxiously, How does it feel? Lin Muyu smiled and said, That feeling is as if the blood in my body is boiling, and the deepest potential in my body is being stimulated. Be it my domain or my attacks, they all become extremely powerful. The power of each attack is also greatly increased. It's like the legendary ferocious and domineering people who are on drugs. Tang Xiaoxi was speechless. What do you mean by drug? I don't understand. Well, Lin Muyu patted her shoulder and said with a smile, After we complete our mission, I'll bring you back to our hometown Earth. You'll understand in that domain. Okay. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi nodded happily. Gomang was a little shocked and said, Leader, the Earth you mentioned, is it the legendary primeval land, the place where we, the 12 ancestors of sorcery, and ancestor god Qiyu were born? Yes, that's right. I see. At this moment, Xiao squinted her beautiful eyes and smiled. Why don't you show us the Chiyu stone? I want to see how powerful this stone that can overturn rivers and seas is. Sister Xiao wants to see the Chiyu stone? Yes. All right. Lin Muyu took out a crystal-clear stone from her Qiankuan pouch and handed it to Xiao. For a moment, Gomang, Zhulong, Changliang, and Dijiang all left their seats and knelt down. Seeing the Chiyu stone was like seeing the ancestor god Chiyu. Their faces full of respect. Ancestor god. Lin Muyu was a little speechless. She raised her hand and said, "Get up, all of you. The spiritual thoughts of the ancestor god Chiyu in the Chiyu stone have dissipated on their own. It's completely under my control now. You don't have to be so respectful." Gomang was a little confused. After a few seconds, he stood up with the others and returned to their seats. Lin Muyu minded her own business and picked food for Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, all of which were meat. Beauties needed to eat more meat to develop and maintain their beauty. Vegetarianism was nonsense. Eating more meat was the way to go. Xiao held the Chiyu stone and praised. Her eyes were full of light. She smiled. "You is really a man of luck." He actually had such a fortuitous encounter in the ancient mystery realm, obtained the Chiyu stone, and subdued the 4 great ancestor sorcerers. If the demon emperor knew about this, he would be so happy. "You and brother demon emperor went through so much trouble to bring us to the 64 domains. It's not right for us to go back without a gift. But Sister Xiao, if I really unify the ancient mystery realm and subdue millions of God-state experts, can I bring them back to the East Heaven realm? If they are willing to follow me to the Heaven realm and enjoy eternal life." Well, Xiao furrowed her brows and said, "It's possible. I can use the northern heavenly wheel to open a spatial rift and connect the eastern heaven realm to this place, but it will consume a lot of divine power. Just me alone is far from enough, and I will need to consume a lot of divine power. This divine power basically comes from divine sparks, light origin stones, and other top-quality containers. So to open a continuous passage to allow the gods of the ancient secret realm to go to the eastern heaven realm, this is a rather large project. How long will it take?" Lin Muyu was excited, as long as it was feasible. Xiao thought about it. "I don't know how long it will take, but if you really plans to leave the ancient mystery realm with the gods, I must return to the god realm as soon as possible to prepare." "Yes, I will. This is my promise to everyone." Lin Muyu glanced at Machi Lin and the others outside the side palace. She must take them away, otherwise they will die of old age in the ancient mystery realm. After all, there was no eternal life here. "Then it's a deal. I will return to the God realm in the afternoon to prepare for this." "All right, thank you, Sister Xiao. No need to be so polite. We are family." Xiao smiled. Xian coughed. "How is it a family? You and the demon emperor are brothers. But Xiao, you are not sister-in-law yet, so you are not considered a family. Speaking of which, you and I are a family, and he wants to call me sister-in-law." Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "But you hasn't married Xiao Yin yet. Xiao Yin is still a virgin." "Ah." Qin Yin blushed. "Sister Xiao, how can you tell?" Xiao puffed out her chest and smiled. "There are many mysteries in life, things that little girls like you and Xiaoxi can't see through. Take your time to learn." Lin Muyu hurriedly helped Qin Yin out. "Gomang Zhulong, you said that the Chiyu stone can command the armies left by the Jiuli tribe. Where are they?" Gomang cupped his hands and said, "Master, after Ancestor Chiyu died, we opened the gate of time and space, saving the remaining armies from being slaughtered and subdued by Xian Yuan. The army led by Xing Tian is in the God realm, hiding in the Immortal Mountain, which is under the jurisdiction of the Eastern Divine Realm. Gong Gong's water-kind army is hiding in the prehistorical plane, which is the earth, in the water deep underground. They have all been in hibernation for tens of thousands of years, waiting for the awakening of the Chiyu stone." "Oh, I see. Then we have to leave the prehistorical secret realm to find them." "Yes." Xiao opened her mouth. "Strange, I have been to the Immortal Mountain a few times. Why didn't I see any armies? It's a barren land, with only a group of stone men guarding the mysterious ruins." Gomang laughed. "Miss Xiao, you may not know this, but the army led by Xing Tian turned into stone after Xing Tian died. Only the Chiyu stone can revive them. These stones don't have any aura, Miss Xiao. No matter how powerful you are, you won't be able to sense their existence. Turned into stone. Xiao was speechless. No wonder, you ancient gods are so strange, always doing curses and prophecies. Gomong cupped his fists. Sorry for my lack of manners, that's the specialty of witchcraft. Lin Muyu also said worriedly, Gong Gong's army is hiding in the water, but the technology on Earth is highly advanced. If we are discovered, won't we be wiped out? Don't worry, leader. Gomong smiled. We have already set up an illusory boundary before we came to the ancestral witchcraft fantasy realm. No matter how smart the descendants are, they won't be able to discover it. Xiao also smiled. You don't worry, in the face of absolute divine power, all technology is useless. Sister Xiao, why are you so confident? Xiao laughed. Half a year ago, we conquered a star in the star field of the Western Heaven realm. The people there are very smart, and their technology is also very advanced. However, they still fell within 3 days. The technology they relied on was only the mastery of electricity, magnetism, and force fields, but a true consummate God Emperor realm expert can make a star lose all of its magnetic field with a flick of a finger. Electricity cannot be used, and all weapons are just scrap metal. Lin Muyu nodded. Thinking about it carefully, Xiao's words made sense. The source of all technology seemed to be the magnetic field. Without the magnetic field, there would be no power, and all advanced weapons would naturally be ineffective. Domain was greater than everything. This was also the strength of gods. Chapter 1061. In the afternoon, Ziyao left the primordial mystery realm with northern region Tianluan. According to her agreement with Lin Muyu, she was going to be very busy. However, if she really succeeded, she would be able to increase the number of divine realm experts in the Eastern Divine Realm by several thousand. Especially super experts like the 4 great ancestral sorcerers. Once they went to the divine realm, they would be the absolute trump card of the Eastern Heaven Court. Moreover, Xia was very pleased with Lin Muyu's growth. Lin Muyu was able to defeat the 4 grand sorcerers with a level 82 Grotto Heaven Realm cultivation base. Wouldn't he be invincible once he reached the level 99 Grotto Heaven Great Perfection Realm? Perhaps, even the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, who also had the Supreme Godhead, would not be his match. After nightfall, those who should have returned had returned. Some of them even brought a captive or 2. She brought Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi to the main hall to brew tea and wait for news. Footsteps could be heard. The 2 brothers, Feng Zhanlin and Feng Zhanhai, had arrived, followed by a few God Emperor experts. How is it? Lin Muyu asked. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said, most of them have returned. In this battle, we suffered heavy losses. Nearly 300 people were injured, 21 divine kings died, and 144 godly venerables died. Lin Muyu frowned. Give compensation to their wives and children. They will be raised by Dragon City. Their children will be taught martial arts by the Dragon League. Yes. How many people have we captured? Feng Zhanlin smiled. Almost all of the earth-bearing domain have surrendered. More than half of the eternal domain have surrendered. Nearly half of the fiery lion domain have been killed. The rest have surrendered. A total of 28 God Emperors, 312 Divine Kings, and 1,244 godly venerables have surrendered. All of them have been arranged to live in the southwest residential area of Dragon City. Lin Muyu frowned. The number of captives is more than what we originally had. What are your plans? Although they've pledged allegiance to Dragon City, it doesn't mean that they're loyal. Feng Zhanlin said. Therefore this subordinate has a request. Create 2 new domains in the Dragon League, and divide all the people who have surrendered into these 2 domains. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi will be the domain lords respectively. They will slowly tame these people and make them loyal to the Dragon League. With these 2 ladies as the domain lords, it is enough to show how much Lin General values and relies on the people who have surrendered. What does Lin General think? Lin Muyu was stunned. She looked at the 2 beauties beside her and asked, are you willing? Qin Yin smiled. Xiaoxi and I should share more of your burden. This is our duty. How can you ask us if we are willing or not? I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you then. It's okay. Lin Muyu nodded and said, Domain Lord Feng, go and divide the members of the 2 new domains. There will be a ceremony tomorrow, and I will attend it. But what are the names of the 2 new domains? Feng Zhanlin smiled. That depends on the 2 ladies. Qin Yin smiled. The domain I'll be in charge of will be called Orchid Heart Domain. Orchid Heart Domain, huh? Lin Muyu chuckled. Qin Yin blushed. You can say that. What about Xiaoxi? Tang Xiaoxi thought about it and said, then let's call it Tidal Domain. Okay, 1 Orchid Heart Domain and 1 Tidal Domain. Sounds good. Lin Muyu agreed readily. Are you going to choose the 2? No need. Let Domain Lord Feng make the arrangements. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and smiled. I promise you and your wives will be satisfied. I'll take care of it now. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin blushed. Feng Zhanlin's words were getting more and more likable. The next day, Dragon City held the ceremony of Orchid Heart Domain and Tidal Domain. It was a very lively day. The entire hall of Dragon City was filled with people. There were more than 300 banquet tables. After all, there were nearly 4,000 godly state warriors in the Dragon League. It was the strongest in the 64 domains. Even the sky-devouring domain was inferior. The Dragon League's momentum had reached a peak. This was especially so after super experts like the 4 great grand wizards joined the alliance. The Dragon City's dominance over the world became even more obvious. When everyone was in high spirits, Feng Zhanlin turned around and flew above the square. He said, Brothers, let's stop and listen to what the Alliance Master has to say. What do you think? Everyone put down their wine glasses and looked at the stage respectfully. Lin Muyu stood up with a wine glass in her left hand, and the hilt of the Xianyuan sword in her right hand. She walked up the stairs step by step and said, My original intention in coming to the 64 domains was to cultivate myself. However, I soon realized that cultivation cannot be so peaceful. I must fight to live with dignity. To tell you the truth, I come from the Eastern Divinity Realm, and I am the Left Marshal of the Divinity Realm. I don't care what you have done before, or what kind of person you are, but from today on, you must abide by the rules of the Dragon League. When I unify the 64 domains, I will take you away from the 64 domains and go to the Divinity Realm to enjoy eternal life. Many godly state warriors were stunned. They didn't believe what she said. Lin Muyu smiled and said, I Lin Muyu, never make empty promises. Everyone should know about Xiao after yesterday's battle. She's my sister. Xiao's Wheel of the North can open the passage between the 64 domains and the outside world. It also makes it possible for everyone to leave this place. Don't doubt it. Just do your best for the Dragon League. From now on, we're a family. We'll go through thick and thin together. If you're willing, raise your glass and let's drink. Everyone raised their wine glasses and drained it in one gulp. Although the gods who lived in the 64 domains ate and slept well, and perhaps had dozens of beautiful servants and maids to serve them, none of these were as tempting as eternal life. Gods didn't want to die either. If they died of old age, how could they be called gods? In the afternoon, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi brought the god state warriors of Orchid Heart region and Tide region to their respective territories. The domain castle of Dragon City was divided into 4 parts. Spirit Sparrow region, Sky Foothill region, Orchid Heart region, and Tide region. Like this, the entire domain castle was already full. 4,000 god state warriors. This was the maximum number that Dragon City could handle. After all, every god state warrior had their own residence and servants. This was the treatment that they deserved. They couldn't be neglected. Otherwise, there would be chaos. In the middle of the night, candles flickered in the side hall. Lin Muyu sat cross-legged and cultivated for a long time. Finally, the rustling sound of footsteps came from outside. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi came back together. The 2 girls had a trace of fatigue on their faces. It was indeed too tiring for them to be in charge of a domain. You're back? Lin Muyu walked forward and opened her arms to embrace the 2 beauties. She asked, How do you feel? It's complicated. Very complicated. Qin Yin said. I'm so tired. Tang Xiaoxi's voice was full of tenderness. It seemed that she couldn't wait to fall asleep in Lin Muyu's arms. Don't be in a hurry to sleep. Take a bath first. I can ask someone to boil water. Okay. What about you? Qi Ning glanced at Lin Muyu. I'll make the bed. Lin Muyu smiled. Immediately, Qi Ning and Tang Xiaoxi looked at each other and smiled. It seemed that they would sleep together tonight. While the two beauties were taking a bath, Lin Muyu was in the hall reviewing the cultivation list of the new members of the Dragon League. Not long after, Qi Ning came out wrapped in a bath towel. Lin Muyu just took a glance at her and couldn't move her eyes away. Over the years, Qi Ning had grown from a young girl to a beautiful woman. Her figure had also become more and more enchanting. The towel wrapped around her towel made people's hearts beat faster. Her well-proportioned snow-white long legs were especially full of tension. Lin Muyu couldn't sit still anymore. She put down the list and called, Xiaoyin, come here. Qi Ning smiled. Aren't you going to make the bed? What are you doing? Come here first. Oh. Qi Ning seemed to have a premonition that something would happen. She floated over and said with a smile, I'm coming. Lin Muyu took the opportunity to put her on his lap, hugged her gently and said, It's great that you can be healthy. Big brother you. Qi Ning was slightly startled. She felt a burst of warmth in her heart. She knew that Lin Muyu was thinking of the time when she was in a coma. At that time he must have been very anxious. Qi Ning also knew that her beauty was enough to make any man fall for her. However, Lin Muyu always made love to her and stopped with propriety. In fact, even if he did, she wouldn't blame him. Thinking of this, Qi Ning lowered her head and fell into Lin Muyu's arms, hugging him tightly. His nose was full of the woman's delicate fragrance. How could Lin Muyu sit still? His heart was in a daze. His left hand was completely out of control. Suddenly, it reached into the bath towel. It was smooth and smooth. When he held the full bosom, Lin Muyu felt that his heart was about to stop. Qi Ning moaned, her face flushed, and her body instantly became hot. She hugged Lin Muyu tightly and whispered in his ear. Is it hard to bear? Lin Muyu gasped and replied in a low voice. It's okay. How do you know? Qi Ning wanted to laugh, but she held back her laughter and whispered. If you want to do anything, Xiaoyin. Xiaoyin won't refuse. Lin Muyu's heart raced, as if it was about to jump out of her throat. Just when they were about to take the next step of their plan, the door suddenly opened with a creak. Tang Xiaoxi stood outside the door and said, Did I come at the wrong time? Qi Ning reflexively sat up from Lin Muyu's arms, her face flushed. No, nothing. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled. I didn't say anything. Xiaoyin has a guilty conscience. I didn't. Lin Muyu stood up and hugged Qi Ning from behind. He whispered in her ear, When we return to the Shattered Cauldron realm, we can get married in front of Father's memorial tablet. Then we can do it openly. Qi Ning's face was red, and her voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. And Tang Xiaoxi floated in. You're whispering again. Can't you tell me what you said? Lin Muyu said. I told Xiaoyin to prepare well. We will attack the Falling Star domain the day after tomorrow. Tang Xiaoxi. Chapter 1062. On the 29th day of the 5th month of the Empire calendar, thousands of miles to the east of the Shattered Cauldron realm, the three great empires stood on a huge territory. The balance of power between the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire was slowly collapsing. The people in the central city of the Blackstone Empire, Mount Qianshan City, were in a state of panic. Over the past few days, dragon riders had been constantly descending upon the city, bringing bad news one after another. In the resplendent palace hall, Emperor Shi Yuan had a worried frown on his face. The faces of the ministers were also pale. The voice of a royal guard came from outside the door. Dragon Rider General Fu Yin requests an audience. Summon him, Shi Yuan said in a low voice. Amidst the heavy footsteps, Fu Yin, dressed in military attire, walked into the hall. There were even some bloodstains on his body. His expression was very grave as he knelt on one knee. Fuyan greets your majesty. Get up, Fuyan. You've finally returned. What news did you bring? Shi Yuan said with his eyes narrowed. Fuyan said in a deep voice. I found out that Feng Jixing is already training the navy on the Daojiang River. The Qin Empire has forged at least hundreds of fortress ships, barges and barges. The entire Daojiang River of the Cangnan province is filled with traces of the navy. I think Feng Jixing's intentions are already very clear. It won't be long before they invade the east with the entire nation's military strength. Invade the east. Shi Yuan's eyes were filled with coldness as he said. My Blackstone Empire will definitely not sit and wait for death. A mere shattered cauldron realm wants to destroy my Blackstone Empire? Dream on. At this moment, the young man sitting on the golden chair beside Shi Yuan stood up and said with an extremely pleasant voice, Your Majesty, you don't have to worry too much. I don't think that Feng Jixing's training of the navy means that they're going on an expedition to the east. After all, the Shattered Cauldron realm has been at war for many years and has long exhausted their savings. Feng Jixing's training of the navy is just to protect himself. The one who spoke was none other than Longxi of the Thunder Flame sect, a peerless expert with the immortal character of ice and fire, and a 92-fold grotto heaven. Moreover, Longxi was talented and had entered the divine state a long time ago. He retained the appearance of a 26-year-old and looked very young. However, who would have thought that such a young man would have thousands of troops and more than 50,000 cultivators of the Thunder Flame sect under his command? Shi Yuan nodded. Sect Master Long is right, but the Empire's westward expedition is imminent. We have no choice but to fight. Longxi smiled faintly. It seems that your Majesty has made up your mind. Yes. Shi Yuan smiled calmly and explained. Firstly, the northern border of the empire is no longer safe. The Baizhe mercenaries led by Si Kongyao and Liu Bai already have hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Coupled with the help of the demonic spirit race from the Forest of No Return, a few counties in the north have fallen one after another. The empire has no strength to tangle with Si Kongyao in the north. Secondly, the young emperor of the Celestial Empire, Chen Yu, was defeated in the Battle of Eastcom City, losing more than 1 million troops. Now he has regrouped hundreds of thousands of troops and is constantly attacking the cities on the eastern border of the Blackstone Empire. The fortresses that we have spent hundreds of years building are falling one after another. We have no strength to contend against the Celestial Empire. As such, what other choice do we have apart from an expedition to the west? Longxi smiled and lowered his head to look at the person on the other side of Shi Yuan. He said, His Majesty said that the Blackstone Empire now has a right-hand man. Why don't we ask the right-hand man when we are in such a predicament? On the other side was a middle-aged man with restrained divine light. He was wearing armor, and there was even a piece of wolf skin on his shoulder armor. He looked extremely capable and experienced. He was none other than the Valley Master of the Wolf Valley, Hisong, the clan leader of the 2 great reclusive tribes in the Celestial Pole continent. Hisong cultivated the laws of wind, and had long advanced to the great perfection Divine Emperor realm. The tribe under his command even had 100,000 troops. It was just that he stood aloof from worldly affairs. Otherwise, he would be able to set off huge waves in the Celestial Pole continent. Longxi said with a smile. Valley Master Hisong has 100,000 troops under his command. Why would he be afraid of Qin Yu and Si Kongyao? Your Majesty must know that. Among the 10 sacred martial gods in the Wolf Valley alone, there are several tens of sacred martial kings, and several hundred sacred martial venerables. As long as Valley Master Hisong decides to send out his troops, I dare say that Qin Yu will definitely stop the war, and Si Kongyao will also carefully consider it. However, Hisong did not say anything. Shi Yuan could not help but turn around and ask in a gentle voice, Valley Master, what do you think? Hisong stroked his short beard and said with a smile, I really don't deserve such high praise from Sect Master Long. However, I also don't agree with the plan to send troops to the Shattered Cauldron realm. The land of the Blackstone Empire is a treasure passed down from our ancestors. How can we hand it over to others? Your Majesty, if it's for the sake of defending the Blackstone Empire, Wolf Valley is willing to send troops. Otherwise, the disciples of Wolf Valley are really not willing to stain the yellow sands of other countries with their blood. Shi Yuan could not help but frown and said, "It seems that the two of you don't agree with the matter of going on an expedition." "Yes," He Song said. "If the Blackstone Empire gives in and leaves the Celestial Continent, it will only make the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire stronger and stronger. Even if your Majesty manages to take over the Shattered Cauldron realm, the Blackstone Empire will also suffer a great blow. At that time, the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire will join hands and go on an expedition to the west. What will we rely on to protect the Shattered Cauldron realm that we have just obtained?" Shi Yuan muttered, "Valley Master is right." He Song smiled. "If it's just to protect the Celestial Empire, Wolf Valley is willing to send troops. However, since Wolf Valley has decided to be loyal to your Majesty, I hope that your Majesty can give me some promises." "Oh, what promises?" "Confer a city to Wolf Valley, so that my troops can have a place to stay. This city must be large, have a large population, and be sufficiently prosperous." Shi Yuan's eyes flickered, but he did not say anything. Longxi, who was at the side, smiled and said, "With the reward of a city, you can get 100,000 soldiers. Why not, your Majesty? Red Rock City in Red Rock Province can be used as a reward. Red Rock City is strong and prosperous, with a population of more than 1 million. Adding the dozens of counties in the surroundings, it has a total population of more than 1,000 people. I think it should be enough for Wolf Valley to station troops." Shi Yuan looked at He Song with a stern gaze and said, "Then, we will now confer Valley Master the Consul of Red Rock Province. You will be in charge of all the important military and political affairs in the province. I will send 3 generals to assist Valley Master in resisting the Celestial Empire and recovering the lost land. Many thanks for your Majesty's great kindness." He Song took a few steps back and knelt on one knee, his face full of joy. "Men's seal and ribbon." Shi Yuan personally handed the seal and axe to He Song and said, "Red Rock City is in imminent danger. I hope Valley Master can send reinforcements as soon as possible." "Yes, your subordinate will return to Wolf Valley and give the order to set out." As soon as he finished speaking, He Song had already shattered the void and disappeared from the Great Hall, leaving behind only a strong gust of wind. Shi Yuan glanced at the crowd of officials and said, "Disperse. Sect Leader Long, please follow me to the rear hall for a chat." "Yes, your Majesty." In the rear hall, 2 palace maids lit up an incense burner and respectfully waited on the side. Shi Yuan helplessly sat in front of a table filled with memorials to the throne and said, "Sect Leader Long, what do you think of He Song?" Although they were called his left and right arms, the person Shi Yuan truly valued was Longxi alone. After all, Longxi was the strongest expert of the Blackstone Empire, while He Song was merely the leader of 2 great secluded tribes in the Outlands. They were just using each other. Longxi smiled faintly. "He Song has a request for the Empire, and your Majesty also needs He Song's troops to resist the Celestial Empire's Chinyu. Therefore, this subject believes that your Majesty conferring the title of Red Rock Province to He Song is a dangerous move, but also a clever one. Is that so?" Shi Yuan said dejectedly. "We feel as if we are ceding the territory of our ancestors. To think that someone like He Song, who wields such a powerful army, waits his tail and begs for pity, is truly a disgrace to the sovereign of an empire. A lack of forbearance in small matters will spoil great plans. Since ancient times, heroes have always sought victory on the precipice of life and death. Your Majesty is no different. All we need is He Song's 100,000 elite troops from Wolf Valley to help us defeat Chinyu. Once we defeat Chinyu, Wolf Valley's troops will definitely suffer heavy losses. At that time, it will be as easy as turning over our hands for us to take back He Song's military power and political power." Sect Leader Long, do you know why He Song must go to Red Rock City? Shi Yuan asked. Longxi was startled, but he did not speak. Sect Leader is unwilling to say? Longxi shook his head. It's not that I'm unwilling, but that I don't want to say. Why? Longxi smiled. It seems that your Majesty really doesn't know much about Wolf Valley. The people of Wolf Valley have the nature of wolves, and the cultivation technique they cultivate is called the blood wolf art. It is abnormally tyrannical, and the only way to awaken the blood wolf art is through blood sacrifice. Blood sacrifice. Shi Yuan was slightly stunned. Yes, blood sacrifice. Using the blood of living people as a guide, one can obtain a powerful bloodline awakening power. Wolf Valley has nearly 50,000 cultivators who have awakened the blood wolf art, and they have devoured the lives of 50,000 innocent people. This is also the reason why people have been disappearing at the borders of the Blackstone Empire for so many years. Didn't Your Majesty order us not to investigate this matter, in order to avoid conflict with Wolf Valley? Shi Yuan sighed. So, He Song wants Red Rock City, because he covets the flesh and blood of the Empire's citizens? Yes, the purer the bloodline of the person used for the blood sacrifice, the stronger the power of the blood sacrifice. It is best to use virgin boys and girls, which is why He Song wants Red Rock City. Aren't we handing over the lives of our citizens to a bunch of demons? Shi Yuan slammed his fist on the table, instantly shattering the memorial and splitting the table into two. The veins on his face bulged, and beads of sweat seeped out. His entire body trembled as he said, "From today onwards, I will be reviled by the people of the world, and my name will be infamous for 10,000 years. Your Majesty." Longxi's voice became heavier. Those who want to achieve great things don't bother with trifles. Your Majesty, please do not hesitate. Once the Blackstone Empire's predicament is resolved, I will do my best to help Your Majesty eliminate He Song and the others. Then, I will depend on sect leader. Shi Yuan nodded and did not say anything else. High up in the sky, far to the north, the pure land in the horizon started to snow heavily. This place was cold all year round, but the spiritual energy was dense and the life force was exuberant. Under the cover of the snow, a lush green forest covered the land. Even in the northern heaven realm, even if it was snowing nonstop, the flowers here would always bloom. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Amidst the sound of stepping on the snow, two people in white robes walked in a zigzag manner in the mountains. Their target was a sturdy city in the northern heaven realm's snowy region. It was a city that stood tall in the sky, connected to the earth by iron chains. The entire city seemed to be floating in the air. This was the center of the northern heaven realm, Black Rock City. When the two stopped at the foot of Black Rock City, heavenly soldiers and generals holding weapons appeared above them. They shouted loudly, "Who goes there?" Swoosh. A petite person walked forward and lifted her cloak, revealing a beautiful face. She said, "Western Divine Realm's blazing angel Eva seeks an audience with Northern Region's King of Gods, Dong Ming." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.